All right, you're on in three, two, one.
All right. Hey, everybody, we're live. I'm Matt Dillahunty. Welcome to the Hang Up right here on the line. It's a rough week. It's a busy week. And I couldn't be more excited to be here. I mean, you guys spending Wednesday nights with you guys is one of my favorite things. Although I am home alone this week as Arden's on vacation. So huge thanks to Luthien for producing tonight, and also for people who saw the original thumbnail. Jovan had other conflicts and could not make it tonight, but I got you. I don't know, somebody just as good who I'm happy to have here. And so John will be on in just a minute or so. Always a pleasure. Let me give you a couple. No, I'm not crying. I'm coughing. I might cry later though. Let me give you a couple of quick news updates because it's been hectic around here. There are massive flash floods happening and mudslides in Nepal. And I watched. Don't go looking for video footage if you are at all squeamish. There are some really gruesome scenes of people running, desperately running. And while you don't get to see specifics of what happened, there is absolutely no way any of these people escaped the massive wall of water that clearly took them out. And so be prepared. Um, there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, but we're probably going to need to be working with people and organizations that are reaching out for worldwide relief efforts. Um, this is going to be big, but there's also a lot going on here at home as well. For example, I'm just going to say, first of all, this is a call-in show. And if you want to call in to debate topics, great. That's why we're here. 720-619-2288. There's a link to the call-in studio thing in the description. Go ahead and start calling in now because I'm not going to go on too long and we're going to want to get calls in. If you're the kind of person that wants to and thinks you're able to defend a God belief or a supernatural belief, something like that, by all means, call in. And if you're somebody who wants to advocate for, I don't know, MAGA, Project 2025, whatever, or anything that you think that we're in disagreement about, we're happy to engage on some of those subjects as well. But for now, I will say that President Trump has clearly messed up his probably illegal, unjust war with Iran that isn't really a war, and has probably lost it in every conceivable way at every conceivable turn. They tried to initiate some new sanctions and extend those sanctions onto others, and now they're wanting to backtrack. Now they're wanting to undo it. Now they're wanting to, hey, okay, we see this isn't going to work, so let's see if we can do this and this and this. And Iran is standing firm on their demands. They want all the money. They want the U.S. completely out of the region. Um, and there's no incentive really for them to do anything or participate in any sort of deal. And so Trump's ignorance and grandstanding not only started this mess, but it's the sort of mess that could have like life and nation ending consequences for the world, if not greater, if it escalates. Um, but hey, I'm not here just to talk trash about uh, President Trump. I'd like to say something good on his behalf. And that is that Dolly Parton died this week. I'm not going to talk a lot about Dolly now. I'm going to talk about her this weekend a little at the Unholy Trinity event, and that video will be up. But I am going to mention her briefly. Um, Dolly was absolutely universally loved. And so it's nothing. It would be shocking for Trump to not take some steps. And so he's ordered that U.S. flags be at half mast starting at 6 o'clock yesterday in honor of Dolly Parton. And that's great. Thank you, President Trump. Now keep her name out of your fucking fascist mouth. You don't deserve to talk about her. and you don't get to you deserve to use her as a prop. And neither do you, by the way, Ricky Schroeder, you washed up piece of crap, posting things about how, well, I disagreed with Dolly about her support for trans folks and the $1 million that she donated to vaccines. Oh, yes, we know you're an awful person. We know you're anti-science. We know you're anti-trans. We know you're MAGA. Dolly wasn't MAGA, you bigoted, washed up anti-science hack. Dolly was the best of us. I'm saving most of the rest of my Dolly Parton tribute for this weekend. But I'll say right now, she would not like me saying this. Dolly was better than Jesus. Now, that's not saying much. I think I'm better than Jesus. I think almost everybody I know personally is better than Jesus. But genuinely, Dolly was better than Jesus, and Dolly was way better than me. Now, you can feel free to call in if you disagree, but this is somebody who took the principles that she saw within her Christian upbringing to heart and became, I don't even have words. She'd be pretty upset for me saying bluntly, but I think she'd also appreciate the honesty. And she was 80 years old and was taken by cancer. So fuck cancer. I mean, I've got family members dealing with cancer, and it took out Dolly. And in other news, another 80-year-old celebrity died today, Tim Curry, who you guys may know from any number of things, like Rocky Horror Picture Show is what comes to mind immediately for me, but also Clue and It and countless other things, Hunt for Red October. Just wonderful legacy in the work done. And what it tells me is that if death is an actual figure, death has worse aim than a stormtrooper from Star Wars, because there's another 80-year-old that is an obituary none of us would be particularly disappointed by, and instead we keep getting the more disappointing obituaries. It's wild. It'll happen. And I'm not sitting here. I know this. Oh, you're rooting for somebody's death. No, I'm rooting for an end to the problem. I'm just at the point where if cancer decides it wants to take one more 80-year-old, I'm okay with it, as long as it's that one. Anyway, for those of you who don't know, this weekend, Seth Andrews, Aaron Ra, and myself will be doing an Unholy Trinity reunion in Fort Worth at the Botanical Gardens. You can go to, I think it's unholytrinity.net to find more information. I think it's sold out. If not, you probably wouldn't be able to get tickets now, but you can try. And we're going to have some fun. For those of you, I got audio coming back at me. We're going to have some fun, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what's changed and what I've learned since the last time the three of us were together doing this. And hopefully some optimistic, positive things as well. I also grabbed a bunch of the most ignorant, hateful comments that come in on my YouTube channel and put them together in a montage. And so we're going to have a bit of fun reading essentially our hate mail. I don't actually get much hate mail anymore. I get condescending, let me lecture you mail. I get, hey, I'm auditioning to be a co-host mail, even though they don't actually say that, but I've done this a long time. It's obvious. And if you're the type of person who has an interest in doing what we're doing here, that's awesome. I've never said, as a matter of fact, I've always said the opposite. I feel like I'm repeating myself too much. I'm not the best at this. I'm not saying I do it right. I do it my way. And my way varies quite a bit. I've done Zen mode for months at a time. I have been an absolutely thin-skinned, crash-out monster on occasions. It's all real. And I genuinely think that that's one of the reasons why I have the audience I have. And so thank you for either enjoying it or putting up with me, whichever the case is. But if you're somebody who wants to do this, we always need more people. And I don't mean the line needs more people, although as we continue growing, that might be the case. We need more people in the secular movement speaking up, working together. And we also need to replace some of those people in the secular movement who have either died, quit, or, turned into transphobic MAGA scum. But hey, whatever works for you. But don't, there's ways to go about it. And one of the best ways is just to start doing it. Almost everybody that you've seen guest on this show with me is somebody that I either stumbled upon in a YouTube search or that somebody else pointed me to and said, hey, you need to see this person. They're doing really good stuff. It's almost never been the case that I've ever decided to work with somebody, to have somebody guest host or fill in or anything else. If I didn't know them, if I didn't watch them, if they weren't already producing content, if they weren't already showing that this is a passion for them, because trust me, I have zero respect for the super YouTubers who only care about clicks and revenue. I don't care how good of an arguer they are. I'll give them credit. I'll give them the credit for that. I didn't even monetize my personal channel until I had like 200,000 subscribers a couple of years ago, and I would have been there way ahead of time if I'd done it. This is a mission, and it's important. And one of the things I like is that I have some friends who are really nice, really smart, way better at most all of this than I ever was or probably could be. And so I get to bring them in. You get to enjoy their work, learn from them. I get to learn from them. We get to have a number of different voices and styles so that it's not just, oh, Matt's going to try and do Zen mode and then donate $50 when he voluntarily fails it. Or, we're just going to sit here and be bored because nobody's being challenged. And that's why I'm thrilled that not only do I get to bring on people I've known for a long time, but also we're introducing you to a lot of new people. I know you guys loved having Peach on recently. She'll be back. But tonight's guest, from doing his own thing, John Cohen. Hey, man, how you doing?
I'm great, Matt. Thank you for having me. Lovely to be back.
It's always a pleasure. John is one of a handful of people who, if I got sick and said, hey, I need a sub for the show, and it couldn't be somebody that's like already on the line, it'd be John. Although I don't see you yet, so I probably caught Luthien off guard on the change. But here's what's going on tonight while we're bringing him in. If you only want to go head to head with John tonight, I will allow it, or at least I will try to allow it. Let's not forget, at the end of the day, it's still my show. And if I'm over here fuming and there's like cartoon steam coming out of my ears, I may jump in. But generally, I don't think too many people are going to want to do that. But if you're the type of person that's like, I can't stand Matt, there's no way I'd call in for Matt, cool. I got work to do. I got, chess to play. I'm probably not going to play like Pokemon Champions or anything like that, but here's what we're going to do. So first of all, John's great at this and was willing to fill in late, but I've done this before, but we're going to add a couple things. I'm still trying to do Zen mode. It's just not as strict as it necessarily was, because as it turns out, it really didn't do much good. Even after a couple of months of not getting hostile with anyone, no matter how much they lied, no matter how much of a troll they were, no matter how much they avoided answering the questions, I still got massive mails about what an absolute dick I am. So I'm like, okay, at this point, it almost doesn't matter. But I don't want to just take that as license to do it, because we're trying to do better stuff. So I'm going to have some questions. I made up a list of them. I'm not going to read them to you right now. But I have a list of questions. And if you genuinely say, hey, Matt, I'd like to only talk to John, I will ask you 3 questions. And if you are willing to answer, I'm going to pick from a list. And some of them are really simple, like which claim are you defending? And as long as you can answer those 3 questions, I will mute myself and sit back here. And the only time, apart from like steam coming out of my ears, the only time I plan to interrupt is if we are running on a schedule and we need to move on to another call. But 720-619-2288 is the number to call. John, tell everybody what you've been up to and how the hell are you?
Oh, I'm great, Matt. It's lovely to be back. So plenty of debates and discussions over on my channel as well. And I just love doing this. And I'm in the enviable position of just watching the community grow. We all grow communities when we do this. And it's actually my favorite part of what we do here. So the debates are fun and the crash outs are fun. And occasionally we have disarmingly productive conversations with people as well. And those are the really special moments where they actually stop and think and they say, I'm going to think about that. And you've given me stuff to think about. And those moments are wonderful too. But my favorite thing about all of it is just watching a community grow and watching people form networks and reach out to each other, especially people who are hurting, people reaching out to those. There's so much compassion here and so much humanity on display. And so that's it, really, just running the channel, 3 or 4 streams a week and working really, really hard and just loving it.
Some incredibly nice, lovely person in chat said, Matt, keep the zen, man. John is here. And clearly this person doesn't know that the easiest way to get me to lose my zen is to offer unsolicited advice or tell me how to do my own show. But because I'm in a really bad mood because Dolly's dead. But apart from that, we'll just thank you for the thoughtful advice. You know, we've got a caller already, and I'm excited because I think this caller, who's called before, has a topic. I don't know if you're able to see the topics already, but has a topic with one word in it that I think is absolutely, completely up John's alley. So if we're ready to get started, while we are screening other calls, 720-619-2288, or there's a link below in the description to call in studio, we're going to go ahead and get started. So here we go. Quincy is calling from Texas. Quincy's a theist, pronouns are he, him. And Quincy's saying that we choose to send ourselves to hell. Hey, Quincy, how are you?
Hey, Matt. I'm doing great. And yourself?
Not bad. What's the beeping behind you?
I'm about to park. I'm just pulling up to my apartment. But yeah, I was saying you guys are choosing to go to hell, you know, and it's surprising that most atheists don't know what's going to happen to them in the end. You know?
Well, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and let John dig in on this because I think he's got it. We both have. I think we're going to answer this pretty similarly. But are you aware, for example, that I'm a former Christian who used to believe what you believe about hell and stuff?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, John, hey, why would he be surprised that atheists are choosing to send themselves to hell and seem unaware of it?
Yeah. Hi, Quincy. So there's a game that gets played in most of the religions we know. And the game goes like this. The name of the game is let's all pretend that believing something is a thing that people do. Right? You are playing the game right now. Maybe you don't realize it, but you are. So when you believe something, what does it actually mean? Because maybe you think that believing something is an action that you can choose to take. Is that what you think?
It is. Yeah, that's what I know. It is an act of faith. It's an action. Yeah. It's like for example, you believe my name is Quincy Graham. I could have called my name could be John for all you know, but you believe my name is Quincy Graham. You just had a belief.
Right. So
actually,
we'll use
that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, well, we can use it as an example. We can use an example. First of all, we don't definitely believe that your name is what you said it is, because lots of people call into these shows and they don't use their real name. So if we accepted that, it would only be to the degree that we accept it provisionally, knowing that it may not be true, right? We hold that belief tentatively. But here's the real game changer for you, and you might want to consider this. Do you think it's possible to believe something that you don't find convincing?
Yes, you can. Like, for example, I've never been to Germany, but it doesn't mean Germany is not real.
Right. Don't miss the point. We're not talking about things that you may not necessarily know for sure. If you are not convinced of something, if you are just not persuaded that something's true, what would it mean to believe it?
To have faith. That's where your
Yeah, but having
comes in.
faith isn't a belief. Having faith is the words we use when we like to role play belief, but we don't actually have it. Because if you really believe something, you don't need faith. You just believe it. So what does it mean
Well,
if you're not convinced that something's true, Quincy? If you're not convinced that something's true, do you think you can just decide to find it
that's
convincing?
true. I got physical proof that it's true because the Bible.
Yeah, I think we're sort of missing the point a bit. Try and focus up and engage with what I'm asking you. Don't just go straight into preaching. So if you're not convinced that something's true, then you can't believe it unless something convinces you it is true. That's literally what belief means. Belief is the condition of being persuaded that something is true or likely true. So when you say that we're choosing to go to hell, what you really mean is we're choosing not to believe something. And in your religion, according to the fairy stories that you believe, people who don't have the right beliefs get set on fire by the God that you like praying to. But here's the thing that you're missing. If we're not convinced it's true, then we're not able to believe it. It's not a decision. It's not a choice that we make. We're just not convinced that it's true. So something would need to persuade us or convince us in order to make belief happen, because belief isn't the thing you do. It's the thing that happens to your mind once you become convinced.
Yeah, well, the Bible, and that's physical, and His words in the Bible as well.
Sure, the Bible says lots of things. The Bible says lots of things, but we don't really care what the Bible says, because you would first have to demonstrate that the Bible is an authority, and that's on the list of things we also don't believe and are not convinced of.
The people at the church, if you go to the Christian church, they will let you know about the Bible.
Yeah, of course. You can go to a church, and people in that building will tell you that the Bible is an authority. It's amazing. You can also go to a temple, a Hindu temple, and people in there will tell you that other books are authoritative too. But that's not really the point. The point is that believing something isn't a choice. It's not something you can choose to do. So the idea that people would be punished for just not being convinced of something is, I've got a special phrase for it, it's morally idiotic.
So
that's not true.
You said you were aware. You said you were aware that I'm a former believer and that I was studying to be a preacher. So do you think I'm fully aware of what the Bible says about this? Because also you are aware that not all Christian denominations have the same view of hell. For example, Billy Graham and Fred Phelps both went to the same seminary, and Fred Phelps was part of the Westboro Baptist, the head of the Westboro Baptist Church, and the God hates F slur people. And he actively believed in a hell. But Billy Graham, who went to the same seminary, believes in something called annihilation theory, or believed, since he's dead too. And that is that you don't go to hell, but that you are, that hell, as it's described, is actually eternal separation from God. And so by cherry picking which verses you want to believe, or which ones you want to stress, I'm sorry, what would you say?
They're both true. Hell has different levels.
They can't both be true. It can't both be this. They can't have two things both be true that are contradictory.
Well, for example, if you're in jail, hell is like prison, basically. So they got the segregated part, and they got the non-segregated part. So it does have different levels of hell.
Okay, so I'm gonna ask you a question. I'm gonna ask you a question about that statement in just a second. But are you able to recognize that two contradictory things cannot both be true? It can't both be true that you are annihilated. I'm sorry. I can't hear you when you're talking while I'm talking. So just wait a second. I'll have a follow-up question. Are you aware that two contradictory things cannot both be true?
God, it can be, though. It's the afterlife, So
okay.
It can be.
So your view of God is that God is immune to the foundations of logic, right?
Yes, sir. He created logic, so of course.
Okay. Your view is now wholly inconsistent with all remotely respectable or intelligible and non-absurd epistemology, even from theists. So let me ask you a question, and that is, how do you know that what you just said about hell is true?
I mean, people, it's in the Bible. I mean, Jesus spoke about
Okay.
it multiple
It's
times.
actually not in the Bible. Point to me in the Bible where it says what you said about hell.
Well, it doesn't directly say what the names you gave me of those people that go to hell, but it mentions hell in the Bible plenty of times.
I'm sorry. You made specific claims about hell, and I asked you how you knew it, and you said it's in the Bible.
People
Now,
at church
John
tell
already
me.
pointed
Yeah,
out.
people
I'm
at
sorry. Would you
church.
let me finish? Would you let me finish and stop trying to talk over me? It's really not looking good for you when you do that, especially while I'm the one remaining calm. When I start losing it, then you can break down. So, as John already told you, we don't have any good reason to believe that the Bible is actually true. So even if the Bible said what you said it said, we still wouldn't have reason to believe it. However, I know you're making shit up because I actually know what the Bible says. And so I'm asking you to provide the Bible verses that say what you say it says.
Well, people at church told me it said that, And
Okay, so you're going to believe people at church, and then you're going to lie to us and tell us it's in the Bible when it's not. Why did you do that?
Well, I even watched the movie Chosen, and that's literally, it copies the Bible, and that mentions hell a lot.
I'm sorry, but Quincy, you don't have the first fucking clue about logic or the Bible, and you came in to lie to us to say that X is in the Bible because somebody at church told you.
Well, Mr. Matt, I don't gotta know the Bible to know that Jesus walked the earth. That comes with my faith, Like
You're
hell, the
correct.
devil knows the Bible.
That's the first thing you've ever said in this conversation is correct. You do not have to know the Bible to know that Jesus walked the earth. How do you know that Jesus walked the earth?
Because I watched the movie Chosen. It copies the Bible, and it shows where he get crucified for our sins.
So you're saying you don't have to know the Bible to know that Jesus walked the earth because you watched the movie Chosen, which uses the Bible as a source. Do you have any source other than the Bible that Jesus walked the earth?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but I don't believe you, and I find you to be probably trolling. So please stop interrupting. Please stop interrupting me. Please stop interrupting me. Don't tell me to listen. Please stop interrupting me. Here's the thing. Okay? Are you listening?
Mm-hmm.
Even if Jesus walked the earth, that does not prove that Jesus is divine, does it?
He was healing the blind.
I'm sorry.
Water, so, yeah,
even if Jesus walked the earth, that doesn't prove that he's divine, does it?
He was making miracles.
I'm sorry. Jesus, so this is a yes or no question to expose that you're a liar and a fraud. Just because Jesus walked the earth doesn't mean it was divine, does it?
He was divine, yes.
Quincy, is it possible that Jesus walked the earth and then people made stories up about him that just aren't true? Has that occurred to you that it could be the case that he's a historical figure and the stories about him may have been elaborated a little bit?
Well, the Bible mentions Rome, and Rome's a real place. I'm just putting.
Yes, okay. there are real places.
You're a liar and a fraud.
Stories.
Hey, Spider-Man comics mention New York. Does that mean Spider-Man's real?
No.
So why would the Bible mentioning Rome mean that Jesus is real?
Because that's the person that made us. I don't think that's nothing to joke about. That's the person that created all life.
I mean, you're not fooling anybody, Quincy. So why are you doing this? Because you've called before.
No, that's not. I called before.
Here's the thing.
Like I said, I may not.
No,
Bible,
Quincy, you're not. You're not. Here's the thing. Quincy, you don't know shit about the Bible. Listen to me for a second. You're now in a position. No, I need you to listen to me, or I'm going to hang up on you. Okay? You're now in a position
to go to heaven or hell.
It's not a choice, okay? It's God's choice, according to Christianity, as to whether or not to go to heaven or hell. But you don't know that because here's the thing. You are now putting yourself in a position where all of us have to decide, is Quincy the most delusional, ill-informed, ignorant caller we've spoken to in ages who doesn't know anything of the Bible or the basics of logic or what demonstrates X is true? Or is Quincy bullshitting us to see if he can waste some of our time? And right now, neither of those look good. I'm sorry, I'm still talking. Interrupt me again. I fucking dare you. Neither of those look good for.
I don't gotta know.
Oh, I'm sorry. Neither of the. Here, I'm going to mute you, and you're going to listen to me, bitch. Neither of those look good for you. So I can leave you on hold forever. I can ban your phone number, but genuinely, John and I would like to have a conversation. but you keep trying to talk over us, and you keep saying the most confused shit ever. So let's see if you're willing to learn, or if you just called in to spam some crap about, oh, we're choosing to go to hell. All right, so let's try this. Quincy, are you willing to learn?
Yeah, but you said out your own mouth that I don't got to know the Bible. You said out your own mouth to be a Christian, and your mom's a bitch. You a bitch hoe.
Okay, so my mom's a bitch, and I'm a bitch hoe. Cool. But you said you were willing to learn, right? Oh, you ran away, which means you lied again. So Quincy was just a liar the whole time. Wow.
Amazing.
I kind of suspected it because it's rare that the first caller in, either it's somebody that's been waiting a long time to call in, but I don't know. I'm a bitch hoe, and that's fair because I called him a bitch. But you know, maybe I shouldn't do that. However,
you get a
once
feeling
we're all convinced,
when someone doesn't actually directly respond to a single thing you said, it's not going to be a productive conversation, is it? He wasn't responsive to anything that you said or anything that I said. It was a waste of time.
I'm going to talk about a little bit this weekend, but not just from a quick kind of. I don't want it to be whiny, because despite all the problems, I'm still optimistic that we can find. I think my internet connection's a little funky right now, so hopefully we're not losing me. The quality of debaters and people who are willing to call in and defend their belief is a mix of embarrassingly bad, incredibly dishonest, or just straight up trolls, which I think that just fits into incredibly dishonest. But what John and I were trying to say, for anybody out there who cared, for anybody who thought that Quincy was making a good point, is yes, you don't have to know the Bible to know that Jesus walked the earth, but I don't know that Jesus walked the earth. I'm convinced it's likely that somebody, maybe with that name and some of the characteristics, walked the earth, but I don't find it particularly relevant, because there are real figures who existed in all kinds of religions. And the issue is, can you demonstrate that they were divine, that they were able to perform miracles, that what they said was true? And as a matter of fact, those are independent things. Like, you could convince both John and myself that Jesus existed and performed miracles, and that would not mean that we would be then convinced that he's God, or that the other things that he said about hell are true. Those are independent claims that you would need to justify. And so all we're trying to do is build up, hey, if you're not going off the Bible, what is your justification for saying that Jesus was divine? We'd like to know so we can evaluate it. But if you're just like, oh, I just watched the movie Chosen. Okay, cool. No, nobody believes you, dude. Oh, it's so bad. So we got somebody else who's queuing up, but we have another person calling in. Jenna is from, I guess her from Louisiana, deconstructing and wants to talk about Eucharistic miracles that have never been debunked. Hey, Jenna, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Why would anybody need to debunk a miracle rather than waiting until the miracle had been confirmed?
Well, there have been some miracles that were proven to be hoaxes, but there were some that there has never really been an explanation for.
So maybe I didn't phrase this right. So let's just imagine for a second that there are only 10 miracle claims ever, just to make this really easy. And 2 of them have been proven to be hoaxes, but none of them have ever been shown to actually be miracles. Why should we believe them?
Okay. I mean, I don't necessarily know if we should believe them, but I mean, do they give us
should you
something to
believe
think
something
about?
just because it hasn't? Should you believe? I guess what I'm saying is, should you believe something merely because nobody has proved it's false?
No.
Cool. So, are there any miracles that have been proven to actually be miracles rather than just unexplained accounts?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of either. And so, here's a weirder question, since we're doing good and we're on the same page. And then I'm sure John has other questions as well. Let's say that you and I both witnessed personally someone we both knew who was, let's just go, suffering from cancer, since I'm in a fuck cancer mood this week and every week, but especially this week. So somebody you and I both know, diagnosed, confirmed pancreatic cancer, and everybody got around and prayed. And about 3 months later, without anything else happening, they were discovered to be cancer free. How do we explain that?
I don't know.
I don't either. But would we then be justified in thinking that the prayer worked?
No, I wouldn't necessarily think the prayer worked.
Me neither. And so just the fact that, like, even if we could confirm miracles, we still wouldn't know how or why they happen. And until we know how or why they happen, it'd be a mistake in my view. By the way, if God came down and confirmed the miracle, we wouldn't need miracles to believe, because we'd have a God there basically confirming it for us.
Right.
Yeah, Jenna, I've got something to offer here. So one of my favorite quotes about miracles is from one of my favorite philosophers, who's David Hume. And he wrote about miracles, and he had this really clever insight, which is when you hear a story of a miracle, you've got the story itself, and then you've got like the interpretations, right? Like, is it completely true? What does it mean about reality? How do we think about it? How do we frame it? If people tell you they saw a thing, does it necessarily mean it was a miracle? Is there another explanation? And he realized there's all these different ways that we can interpret these stories. And it was such a beautiful quote he had. He said that no testimony is sufficient to establish a miracle unless the testimony be of such kind that its falsehood would be more miraculous than the fact which it endeavors to establish. So what that means is when you hear a story about a miracle, it's never makes sense to accept it as a miracle unless all the other ways that it could be explained would be more of a miracle, less likely, more amazing. And what you find in all of these instances, it's always the case that the alternative explanations are more likely. They're not less likely. They're just more likely. Someone didn't tell the truth, or someone misinterpreted something, or a bunch of people thought they were seeing something, but it was actually something else. The other explanations are always going to be more likely. And so that's why it doesn't really make sense to say there are miracles and they haven't been disproved, so we should think they're true. Because in all of those instances, it's always going to be the case that the report of the miracle being false is going to be more likely.
Right. Okay, can I ask a question about like a specific example of like a Eucharistic miracle?
Sure.
Okay, so I was raised Catholic. Do y'all have like any experience or knowledge of the Eucharist in the Catholic Church?
A little bit. I was not Catholic, but I have studied this, and I have Catholic relatives, and an atheist who I had a conversation with just converted to Catholicism based on miracles, and I'm pretty sure maybe some of them were Eucharist. I didn't really dig in much, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the miracles in the Bible don't mean anything to me. My husband and I were both raised Catholic, and over the past like year and a half or so, we deconstructed and have decided that we identify as agnostic atheists now. But it was, a very it was a rough time and a very difficult decision. And so I kind of went through everything. So I'm like, well, if we're going to make this decision, then I want to be sure. And so I've kind of gone through all of the arguments and the evidence. And like the only thing that I cannot kind of get past or come up with an explanation for is the Eucharistic miracles in Poland. So there have been 2 that happened in Poland. There have been others that have happened around the world that I think can kind of be explained away as like whatever they were seeing was some kind of growth of mold or fungus or whatever. But there were 2 in Poland. So in the Catholic Church, Catholics believe that the priest transforms the Eucharist into the blood and body of Jesus Christ. So there was one instance where the priest dropped the Eucharist on the floor and he put it in water so that it would dissolve. Well, when he came back, it was red, but then when they did further testing on it, they found that it showed evidence of cardiac muscle tissue. And all of them, it confirmed no mold, no fungus. All of these like Eucharistic miracles confirm matching AB blood type. And the one with the 2 that had the cardiac muscle tissue showed like that cardiac muscle tissue had gone through trauma. And like, I can't come up with an alternative theory for how that happened unless it was just a total hoax or...
That would immediately be more likely, wouldn't it? Think about Hume's principle.
Yes.
What's more likely? That some liquid spilt on the floor turned into a magic heart stuff, or that someone somewhere in the chain is not completely telling the truth? Like, even if it's really, really unlikely that someone's not telling the truth, that's still going to be more likely than stuff spilt on the floor turned into magic heart stuff, isn't it?
Right.
There's your answer.
So,
okay.
I don't know for either of these. I have heard of both of these before. One's in, I pulled them up. One is apparently in Sokolka and the other one's in Legnica in 2008 and 2013. And I don't have the all of the information in front of me, but in one of them, a host fell to the floor and was placed in a container of water. And a week later, it was found that the host hadn't dissolved. Is that one of the 2 you're talking about?
Yes.
Cool. And the other one is this one where there's, they found, well, they claim they found fragments of heart muscle tissue that had been through some sort of arrest or trauma. So let's make a list of candidate explanations for the heart trauma ones, because something not dissolving, I don't find all that particularly impressive. But the church is in charge of all this stuff from the beginning to the end. As far as I know, nobody but the church or the church's authorized representatives were allowed to actually investigate it. And if somebody did, we also don't have a proper chain of custody from the time it happened to when an external source did this. All we have is the story that we haven't done anything to it, whatever. Weird things happen. But if we make a list of candidate explanations, someone lying, someone intentionally doing this, some other sort of error, or some anomaly that we do not yet understand, all of those I would consider candidate explanations. Like if we're making a list of how this could have happened, I would say that all of those are candidates. I do not have this actually occurred in a miraculous sense, violating the laws of physics. I don't even get to consider that a candidate explanation until somebody demonstrates that's possible. So it's like, if we find a body in a room and we start making a list of candidate murderers after we've investigated and discovered this person's been murdered, if we start making a list of candidate murderers, we probably wouldn't even get to list everybody on the planet. Certainly the baby down the hall from me, it would be absurd to think that that baby did it. There's not a baby down the hall from me for people who know me. I'm coming up with an example on the fly. But if we start listing all the various humans that could have done it, or the other ways. Do we get to list fairies? Could fairies have done it? How about pixies? How about ghosts? How about demons? How about angels? How about, we have all these things and we have no reason to consider any of them a candidate. But if we consider any of them a candidate, then in order to be fair, we'd have to include all of those that have no justification as equal candidates, like a god, a ghost, a goblin, a ghoul, just sticking with the G's. If we have no evidence for any of them and we want to include any one of them as a candidate, we must include them all. And how do we tell the difference between which one of them? But there's a worse.
The ones that are most likely, right?
Yeah. And you can't tell which one's more likely. It's not, it's even worse is that one thing I like to do when I'm evaluating these afterwards is say, hey, if this is the case, let's imagine God did this miracle. Why? If God is all-knowing, all-powerful, or even if God is just smarter than me, doesn't have to be all-knowing. If God is smarter than me, then God would know what reasonable objections I'm going to have to the conclusion that he did it. And if God wanted us to know that he did it, then he should do something to overcome those challenges. And if God doesn't want us to know that he did it, then there's no way we could ever overcome those challenges, because if God is the world champion of hide and seek, has to be. But what would we get out of it? What benefit could there possibly be to the all-knowing, we'll just go to God, making a cracker have some bloody tissue on it? What does it prove? What does it demonstrate? Even if it were believable, even if we knew for sure it happened, why would God do that? If it's not enough evidence to convince us, then it'd be kind of stupid for God to do it. And if it is enough evidence for God to convince us, then it'd be kind of stupid for him to just put heart tissue on a cracker instead of just showing up and saying, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's why I'm stuck.
And it's so lacking in ambition, isn't it? Like, think about this, right? This is the God of the universe. This is the being that stretches out the cosmos before us. And the way that he demonstrates his presence to his creation is with a broken cracker. Like, it's so laughably unambitious, isn't it? It's so small-minded and parochial. And, where's the grandeur? Where's the where's the magnificence? I'm not seeing any there. If God wants to make himself known, he could do it properly. It's so silly.
I'm a magician. I do magic shows. I can do some amazing stuff. I can make it look like I've read your mind, even though I haven't. I can make it look like, I can make a rubber band. I can blow your mind with a single rubber band with something that is more impressive than a cracker not dissolving or having some tissue on it that we can't verify. Like, it is trivial for me with one rubber band. I can entertain you for 15, 20 minutes solid and guarantee that I'll fool you with one rubber band. Why can't God do better tricks than me?
Yeah. Okay. Those are good points.
Cool. Thanks, Jenna. We wish you luck. Also, it's worth reminding you can reach out to recoveringfromreligion.org, and you can always call back and ask questions anytime.
Okay. Thank you.
Sweet. Have a good night. Yeah, I would. There were people like, oh, do the thumb thing. I was not going to do that thumb thing. I was going to do a different thumb thing. So, like, I don't even know if this will even show up on the stream. Is that showing up? So I've got it wrapped around my thumb, and I put my finger on there so it can't get out, and I just pop it right through. That's
there you go.
Trivial.
Jesus can't do that.
Jesus can't do anything, but that's because he either doesn't exist or is dead. Unless I'm wrong, and he is reigning forever in heaven. If you think Jesus is reigning forever in heaven, by all means, call in and tell us why we should believe that. I'm more than a little dubious about this one. I want to take the first part and then drop out. So here we go. Robert is calling from Tennessee. Sorry for your loss. Pronouns are he, him. He's a theist who says he has documented proof that'll validate his opinion that God is real. It's never been documented before. One of them is that on our money it says in God we trust, and the other is he only wants to say on the air. Hey, Robert, how are you?
Well, I don't lie. I'm not very good. I'm miserable, in fact. I'm not one of those people that says, "Oh, I'm just fine."
Me
I'm
too.
not a happy person. Yeah, I've noticed that. I mean, when people go with the formalities, you just have a blank look on your face. You want to get right to it.
Yeah, I have questions about your claim.
Okay.
Can I ask a couple questions real quick about the "In God We Trust" thing, and then let you get into the rest of it?
Sure.
Are you aware that "In God We Trust" did not appear on U.S. currency until 1864, and then didn't appear on all U.S. currency until 1955?
I was not aware of that. I'm not a educated person. I just have common sense, street smarts from the life that
Yeah, we'll just cut to the chase. If we were to start printing "God isn't real" on our money, would that disprove God?
No, and it would not make anybody want to acquire it any less.
Then my question is, if printing "God isn't real" on the money doesn't prove God isn't real, how does "In God We Trust" prove that God is real?
Okay, you have an answer for everything. I knew you would have a valid response. I mean, because I didn't. I've just always thought, where did it come from? And now I know.
It came from the communist scare. Basically, in the 1950s, the Red Scare, they wanted to attack the godless communists. So America used to have this wonderful motto that was "E pluribus unum," and that is "out of many one." And we got rid of that wonderful motto and replaced it with "In God We Trust," which is an incredibly divisive and dishonest view because we don't all trust in God. But you're on with two guys tonight. And John, does your money say "In God We Trust"?
It does not, no.
Yeah, because John's in the UK. But I want to hear what your second one is, and I want to let John address it. So thanks for getting through the "In God We Trust" thing quickly, Robert. You're on with John.
Okay.
Hey, Rob.
If you'll allow me to speak for just a minute, I'll make my point. It won't take very long.
Sure.
When John Lennon said that they were, referring to his band, that they were more famous than Jesus Christ. I mean, look at how famous he was. Look at how famous Elvis Presley was. Look at how famous all these super famous celebrities have been and still are. After John Lennon died, did the countries of the entire world get together and restart the historical calendar? I mean, whether you like it or not, you have to admit that you are living under the authority of Jesus Christ. Because when you write a check or you write any document and sign the date, you are acknowledging Jesus Christ as King of the world.
Can we stop there? Can we stop there and just Robert? Can we just stop there and address that before we get on? Because if you're going to make other points, we're going to just have to go back and address the one you just made. So essentially, the claim you've just made is because we live in a place that's adopted a particular calendar, the fact that our culture has adopted a calendar means that we're living under the authority of Jesus. Is that your argument?
It's BC and AD. They started the historical calendar based on this man's
we understand.
Life and death.
We understand. We understand. There are a number of different calendars, aren't there, in use around the world? It just so happens that most of us in what we call the West are living our lives based on a particular calendar. There are other calendars that are different. Most of us are working with this calendar, but that's just a matter of historical accident. It just so happens that was done. That doesn't mean that Jesus is real. It doesn't mean that Jesus has any authority. It just means that, we name the days of the week after gods, right? Thursday is named after Thor. Does that mean that we're living under the authority of those gods? Because the days of the week are named after them?
2026 AD. after his
Right.
death.
So
And
you
before
understand
was
that,
BC.
but right, we all get how the calendar works, but you understand that things happen in history, and things get named certain things, and conventions are put in place. That doesn't mean that we're living under the authority of the things that they were named after. We're not under the authority
like I said, whether you like
of
it,
ancient
whether you
gods
like
like,
it or
like
not.
Thor, are we? Right. So
Whether you
can
like it or
see
not,
that
you can argue all day long, but you still write
Sure.
2026 when you write a check.
You do. Yes, because that's the calendar that we happen to use. But Robert, why would you say that using a calendar makes you under the authority of a god? That's a silly argument.
Because it's got his name on it.
It's just a calendar, my friend. It's just a calendar.
Before Christ and after his death.
Yeah, we understand. We understand.
I know you don't believe in the Bible, and I can't quote scripture. You know, I don't remember verses, but I remember what I've read.
Can I ask
and
one thing?
part of the Bible says that if they were able to document all the things that Jesus Christ did while in his time on earth, that all of the books in the entire world would not hold all the accounts. They were just not able to understand the things that they were seeing that he was doing.
Robert, that's a bunch of nonsense. But let me ask this. Are you aware that in addition to BC and AD, there's also a modern calendar that is CE and BCE, and they have nothing to do with Christ?
Is it the same year, 2026?
Yes, it's currently 2026 CE.
What does that stand for? CE?
Common Era.
Common Era.
Correct.
I think most people would agree that before BC and AD is the one that most people go by.
I understand, but does the fact that most people
something was so magnificent about that man that they restarted history?
No, that's just wrong, Robert. Does the fact that a lot of people prefer something mean it's true?
I mean, I can't tell you my great-great-grandfather's name or grandmother's name.
Does the fact that a lot of people prefer something, does the fact that a lot of people prefer something mean it's true?
It was based on something.
I'm sorry. Tradition. Does the fact that a lot of people prefer something mean it's true? This is a yes or no. You're deflecting.
No, you have to have empirical evidence. They say we have empirical evidence.
Okay, no, you don't necessarily have to have empirical evidence for everything, but I appreciate the fact that you went there. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
The only thing that needs to happen is for people to be convinced that this person was special and create a calendar after it, and then force people to use that calendar until it becomes a convention. Nothing about the fact that the calendar refers to this individual means that any story about that individual is true. Otherwise, all of the Muslims that have been using different calendars throughout history would have exactly the same argument that their religious leader is true. And the same for people in Asian countries that had different calendars. And when the Aztecs have their own calendar, does the fact that the Aztecs used a calendar mean that Quetzalcoatl was real? No. So you went from Jesus is real because it says in God we trust on our money, and because of the calendar. Both of those are, I'm sorry, Robert, but I'm pretty sure you'd appreciate this. Both of those are absolutely ridiculous arguments that are not valid or sound. What was the thing that you only wanted to say on the air?
The calendar, the BC and AD.
Oh,
enough people.
But you said hang on.
Enough people.
It says, Robert. It says here that what you wanted to present is that it's never been documented before. Do you think you're the first person to suggest that a calendar based on Jesus somehow affirms Jesus' reality?
I've never heard.
You're not.
It seems to me like everybody that called you would start off with that. You know, it's the year 2026.
Because because it's the stupidest argument you can make. But we're familiar with it. We've heard it for ages. In the same way that putting in God we trust on our money doesn't mean that God's real. Naming your calendar after your fictional friend isn't real. And John addressed this by pointing out that Thursday is named after Thor. That doesn't mean Thor's real, does it? When you write down Thursday, that doesn't mean Thor's real, does it?
No, I always wondered why October wasn't the 8th month of the year instead of the 10th, because October
It used to be. October used to be.
I found out that
October
that
used to be.
only had 8 months. Yeah.
No,
Romans
that's
only had
not it
8
at
months.
all. That's October used to be. Sept, Oct. Do you realize that the month didn't used to start in January? It used to start in April. And that's why we have April Fool's Day, because when they moved the calendar back to January to start the year, people who still had the new year beginning in April were called April Fools. If you start from April, what month is October?
I don't know. I suffer from severe brain damage. I just live in the present.
Okay. Well,
Yeah, I don't see how
there's a number
they
of
could
different
have
calendars.
instituted that calendar without everybody being in on it. If there was enough people that would have rejected it and said, no, Jesus died, he is an ordinary man.
Robert,
and it's the year 4000.
Robert, were you in on it? Robert, were you in on it?
No.
Do you think everybody was in on the calendar?
And so is everybody that writes
Robert,
on the
listen.
check.
Robert, listen. Everybody wasn't in on it. Everybody didn't need to be on it. But let's imagine that everybody in the world decided today to change the calendar so that your birthday is the new first day of the calendar. Does that mean you were special? Probably. Does it mean you were God? No.
But the reason they did that is because they all believed that he was. Well,
okay,
he came from somewhere.
Robert, if everybody believed I was God, does that make me God?
Absolutely not.
Then why would it make Jesus God when not everybody believed it?
The entire world restart the calendar.
Robert, do you realize that people who believed then conquered other nations and made their religion the official religion? If everybody believing I'm God doesn't make me God, are you? So there's a logical fallacy that is called the appeal to popularity. And this is because whether or not something is true is not impacted in any way by the number of people who believe it, how long they believed it, how sincerely they believed it, or how many people they killed to protect that belief. None of that is in any way shows that it's true. The calendar didn't change, by the way, just because everybody got together and believed Jesus. The overwhelming majority of people still don't believe that Jesus was God. What happened is the people who had the power, who had the guns, who had the ability to take over other nations, who had the ability to force their view onto people, they said, our view is the official one, just exactly like the MAGA fascists are doing now. The MAGA fascists are defying the Constitution and rewriting what is, and I'm going to put this in quotes, true, and what rights people have in the U.S. right now. Does that mean they're correct just because they had power?
No.
There you go. Have you got any actual evidence for God?
I'd just like to add just one small thing. If there was any case for any person to want to be an atheist, it would be me, because I don't believe there is a Christian. I can't speak for the entire world, but in this country I live in, I've never met one, and I do not believe there is a single Christian in this country. Because how can there be Christians when I, as an individual, have renewed a business license for over 25 years that says FATAL and has the words typed on this legal document that I pay money at the courthouse for every year, failed attempted assassinations by the law. And I've got no justice, no recognition, no compensation, complete media blackout, and no help whatsoever. I'm facing homelessness. I am in dire straits. Now, there's not one single Christian in this entire country. I've never met one. How can I have that business license and no one be interested in this?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I lived through an actual police
Oh, wow.
execution.
Never mind. Never mind, I don't
and
care.
escape. Just
If
hope
you're not
God
going to
it
let
never
me
happens to
ask
you.
the question, if you're not going to let me ask the question, I don't care.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, what
You don't
document
care.
that you have?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, John. No, go ahead, John. I'm done.
I mean, it feels to me like this might be a little outside of the scope of the conversations that we're wanting to have here. Robert, it sounds like you're having a hard time. I'm really sorry that you are, but I think that's probably outside of the scope of what these discussions are about.
I just want to put that in there. I mean,
Well, I hope you find some peace. I hope you find some peace, but in the same way that you're not currently equipped to evaluate whether or not a God exists, I don't know whether you're equipped to evaluate whether anybody's a real Christian or not. That's also another fallacy.
From my own experience.
That's also another fallacy, the no true Scotsman fallacy. I'm sorry that you're having trouble with the government and other stuff, and I hope you find some way out of it.
Yeah.
But the God of the Christian Bible is an immoral piece of shit. And so if there are no real Christians, I'm actually happy about that.
That's why I said that, to make your day, because you're just beating the dead horse. Everybody that calls in, there's no Christians. There's nobody to debate except me.
Well, unfortunately for you, unfortunately for your case, unfortunately for your case, Robert, unfortunately for your case, I personally know people who identify honestly as Christians, and I used to be one of them. And what's on your documentation? What's on your documentation is irrelevant to whether or not somebody's a real Christian.
No, it just proved the fact that there's no Christians in this country.
How does it prove that? How does it prove that?
I survived an execution. A man that's never committed a crime. Just because people don't.
How does that prove it? Okay, so you survived an execution despite never committing a crime. I'm asking you a question. I need you to turn your brain off for just a second, reset it, and listen to the question. You're saying that because you survived an execution as an innocent man, this somehow proves there are no true Christians. How does that prove there are no true Christians?
Because nobody cares. Nobody's interested. I see every day on the news some cop steps on somebody's big toe and they get $1 million.
Robert, does everybody know your story? 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 Does everybody know your story?
I don't know about everybody, but the people that
Did I know your story before we spoke?
You should have. 2 marshals from Washington, D.C. came to this small town.
I need you to go get some help. I need you to go get some help, Robert. We're going to let you go now. Take care.
Yeah, it was harsh.
So
I hope he finds some relief.
Yeah, let me address this real quick. We got a couple theists on hold. I want to get to you guys soon. So the 2 theists that are on hold right now, I'm going to get to you as quickly as I can. I get it. Robert appreciated the fact that I'm a take no bullshit kind of guy. Let's get right to the point. Let's sort it all out. Here's the thing. I've been doing this for decades. And it is very difficult to tell the difference between somebody who's unstable and in need of some assistance, either medication or psychological help or just counseling or a hug, and somebody who's acting that way or somebody who's trolling that way. I don't have the ability to investigate people's lives. I don't know. I mean, Robert's talking about on his, I think it was on his driver's license or something. He has something that says FATL. But I don't know what the hell that is. And when I Google searched it, nothing comes up. And so it may seem to be the case that Robert is just, maybe Robert was trolling. Maybe Robert is just sincerely confused. Maybe Robert is dramatically out of touch with the basics of reality. I would like him to get some help. However, John and I aren't the people to offer that help, and the show is not the place to do that. And so what we try to do is when we're on a call like that is figure out exactly where we draw the line. And don't get me wrong, I can see chat. I don't pay too much attention to chat anymore because, I love you guys, but fuck some of you. But there are people in chat who would like us to go on for ages to see if we can help them. And there are people in chat who would like us to hang up instantly. We're not always going to get it right. It is incredibly difficult. And there's a number of other things going on behind the scenes that some of you all don't know about. And that is we have multiple lines and I can see who's waiting. And if there's nobody waiting who I think is in more need or who is likely to have a more productive conversation, I'll probably stay on with that person until I just can't. However, when it's clear that we have nothing left to help them, you just got to thank them and move on. And so we have other theists here. So, I'm not going to go straight to John, because he's only been on for like 7 minutes. There's people going to hold longer. So we're going to take theists first and in the order that they called. Let's see how we do. Sam's also calling from Texas, pronouns are he, him, who wants to share the reason we are children of God. Hey, Sam, how are you?
Greetings. Yeah. No, I just had some time to come on. I see you're, asking about some Christians to come on. So I wouldn't mind talking with John there for a second.
Wait. Are you saying you only want to talk to John? Are you saying you only want to talk to John?
Talk to. Well, it's because I think I've heard your conversations before, and you get real quick to hang up or mute or. And
it's really weird. It's really weird, Sam, because you're not even answering the questions that I ask you right from the get-go. That's not a good way to do this. So, John, do you have? Are you wanting to tell a story or explain something, or do you actually have evidence that you think should convince us that we are children of God?
Well, I will tell you this specifically, Matt.
No, I'm sorry.
Pretty smart
I need
guy.
you to answer the question that I just asked, Sam.
I thought we were having a discussion. I thought that's what you said
no,
at the
Sam.
beginning, to go
no,
ahead
Sam.
and share
Here, I'm going to mute you, Sam. I'm going to mute you, and you're going to listen to me, okay? We can have a discussion, and you can have it with me. You can have it with John. You can have it with both of us. But this is a show, and in order to figure out what's going on and whether or not you are sincere, whether or not you are worth our time, whether or not you're a troll or a time waster, I have a couple of initial questions to ask in order to direct the conversation so that I don't waste my audience's time, so that I don't waste John's time, and so that I don't waste the time of the other theists who are on there. So what I'm asking you is, first of all, you said you wanted to talk to John, and then you wanted to explain to me why. I don't care why. I just wanted to know which of us, or both of us, you want to talk to. And the other thing is, it says here, you want to share the reason we are children of God. If what you're wanting to share is something you are convinced of, but without any justification, then I don't care. That's a waste of time. There are people calling in to make a case for what they believe. That's why I was asking the question. But instead, you've been on for 1 minute and 13 seconds. You've been on hold for 27 minutes. Actually, you've been on hold for longer than that. You've been on hold for 2.5 minutes. But you've been on the line for 28 minutes. This is never going to go well for you if you keep acting a fool. If instead, when I take you off mute and we start over, you just answer the questions that I'm asking you, then we can figure out the best way to start having the conversation, or thank you for calling and go on to somebody else. It's going to be your call. So here we go. I'm going to take you off mute. After I do, I'm going to restart this call to give you the best opportunity. And if you just answer the questions I ask, then we don't have to waste time with this kindergarten bullshit of restarting and putting people on hold, which I'm sorry, it's my fault. This is the only way I know how to do this without absolutely losing my shit. So here we go. Sam's calling from Texas. Pronouns are he, him, wants to share the reason we're children of God. Hey, Sam, welcome to the show. You're on with John and me. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Doing
cool.
Terrific. Because
When you
God
say
is
you want to share
terrific
the
and
reason
great.
we're children, when you say you want to share the reason we're children of God, are you wanting to present a case that you think should convince us, or did you just want to tell us like a story?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to put my faith in my fellow man. I mean, you could see how short-tempered they could be and ready to
See,
mute
I
and
don't see
get
that that's
upset.
an answer to my question. Let me double check. John, is that an answer to the question I asked?
Not sure it really was. It was a pretty straightforward
Okay.
question. Come on, Sam, you can do it. I have faith. Come on, you can do it.
I mean, it's very, you're either going to put faith in other people or you're going to put faith in God. Now, I can't
No.
explain personally my
Sam,
personal
hey, Sam,
relationship with God.
Sam,
What is that?
I don't
What's
put
that?
faith in anything. I'm asking you, are you wanting to present a case that you think should convince us? Yes or no?
Well, yeah, I would say. I mean, that's what the discussion is.
Sam,
I thought that
Sam,
was he was being a smart.
Sam.
What is it? What is it, Matt? What is it?
Okay, nobody's taking you seriously. I'm just going to say goodbye and drop you. I don't have time. I think that I was beyond patient with your obvious trolling ass. People who are serious about having a conversation. Here, let me give you a quick example. Hi, my name is Matt, and I'm a Christian. And I'd like to talk about why I believe and why I think you should believe. Because under 1 Peter 3:15, I'm required and expected by God to be prepared at all times to give a reason for the faith that's within me. And by the Great Commission in the Gospels, I feel a duty and obligation to go unto the world and present this. Now, maybe Sam's not calling on behalf of Christianity, but Sam's also not calling on behalf of any sort of serious issue and wanted to whine and complain about me personally from the beginning. That shit will no longer fly ever. I don't care if we get to a point where there are no callers, because all of you who are liars and dishonest and who will not engage in conversation, if you guys make it clear in the first few seconds to where we just don't have callers, fine. But I'm done wasting time on you because it's disrespectful to me, the co-host, the audience, and all the people who are on hold. If you're actually a God believer, you should be embarrassed of yourself. And I'm hoping that the other people who are on hold now, who seem to want to present a case for what they actually believe, be it the Christian God, the Jewish God, some other God we don't know, I'm hoping that they understand how to actually have a conversation like a grown-up and not come off like a dick. So here we go. Sarah is also calling in from Texas. Everybody's calling in from Texas tonight. It's awesome. Pronouns are she, her. Sarah wants to talk about spiritual experiences being validated as psychological experiences. I'm confused, but Sarah, I'm probably the wrong guy because I don't know what spiritual means. I don't think there's anything spiritual. I find no justification in it. So the floor is yours to convince us of whatever it is you wanted to convince us of.
Well, do you think that we have spiritual needs according to most psychologists?
No, I think most psychologists use the term spiritual needs because that's the way patients describe what they need and because they don't have any other language to attribute to it. I think our needs are not spiritual. I think they are physical and psychological, and that all of that is physical.
I don't know. I guess I'm a little bit confused because I looked up things about it, and I was really looking up things about it, and I guess I can look it up right now, and it says that. So I guess I'm a little. I guess what I think that spiritual can mean, it can mean spiritual as in literal like spiritual realm, or it can mean just awe and transcendence and a psychological framework.
Okay. I'm fine with a psychological framework. I don't know that, anything transcends. Are you aware that, for example, in hospitals, even if they're not run by religions, because there are patients who are religious, hospitals offer counseling from religious individuals. That's not an affirmation that anything about the religion is true. That is, we have a patient, and that patient is convinced they have particular needs, and so we're going to use the language and the imagery and all that surrounding the sort of needs that they feel they have, in order to not, I don't know, make the situation worse because we're in a hospital.
Right. Trying to think of how I can describe it, because I do have spiritual experiences or things that were crazy, and I'd like to talk about that as presenting my case, because
what is,
yeah.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, if you have an experience that you're calling spiritual, you can tell us what it is and why it should be called spiritual. Because my problem is that using the label, I don't find it justified. Like, for example, I had a discussion with Brett Hartley. We're back and forth with Brett and some other people who are advocating for spirituality. And they use the label in a way that doesn't tie to anything that is traditionally spiritual. It's kind of this, we're going to talk about meaning, and we're going to talk about mindfulness. And while meaning is a psychologically important and valuable idea, and mindfulness is a truly useful psychological process, I don't know why they should be called spiritual, in the same reason that if somebody said, hey, my view of Christianity is let's give to charity and be nice to people, and not you can only get divorced for fornication, and God is all powerful and had David's wives raped, and boom, 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 boom. So they've cherry picked it out. If you can be charitable and do good things without attributing it to Christianity, I think it would be a mistake to attribute that to Christianity, because now you're propping up all the baggage, and that's my problem with spirituality. But if you had an experience that you call spiritual, help us out. Let us know what it was.
I had many. I don't even know where to begin, because I kind of want to establish, so I do disagree with you there. I will say I'm an artist. I'm not a scientist. I don't have your thinking kind of brain. I'm a feeler. So I'm naturally more intuitive, and
I don't know what that means. I find that to be pretty much bullshit as well. Yeah, that because you're into art, all of a sudden you feel more and are more intuitive than I am.
Yeah, but
prove it.
What I'm saying is that's that's the lens in which I see the world, and it's not to say that I can understand that maybe it is my bias, but I think we all have biases. And I guess, I guess intuitive and intuition is different from faith, because intuition is like you're getting away from a car. Like, you see a car and it's that instant gut thing. It's real world data, but faith is the lack of real world data. It's just faith in a God.
Okay. As far as I can tell, what you described is engaging in active self-delusion to take the natural training that we do to recognize patterns and suggesting without evidence that there's something more to it.
I'm not saying that there is something more. So I have 20%
you brought up a God
of belief. Yeah, but I don't have faith in a God. I have experiences that I want to validate, and I guess I don't want to just call myself crazy or a liar. And I think that there's a lot of stigma with people that
Why
have
would you need to call yourself crazy or a liar? Would you agree, Sarah, that we all make mistakes and that we misunderstand things until such time as we learn more about them?
Yeah.
Okay. So what if you're describing as intuition in some sort of spiritual sense is just that you are recognizing patterns in a more intuitive sense without recognizing that it's purely physical and mechanical?
Really physical and mechanical. I'm trying to process
And
what
also,
you're saying. Sorry.
Sarah, you said something quite interesting a minute ago. You said, I had experiences that I want to validate. That's quite revealing. That if you want to know what's actually true about the world, then what you might say is, I had experiences and I want to better understand them, right? I want to be able to look at them critically and understand them and know what they actually mean, rather than I just want to validate them. Because validate them just means you want someone to say, yeah, they are what you think they are, or for you to be able to tell yourself that. But if you're actually intellectually curious, if you want your beliefs to actually map onto reality and be true, then just looking to have your beliefs validated isn't actually the right approach. The right approach is to say, I had these things happen to me. I can't explain them. I want some help exploring what some of the, to use a phrase from earlier, candidate hypotheses might be, the candidate explanations for the things that happen to me, because people have experiences all the time that they don't understand. And so far, throughout all of human history, pretty much, the explanations for their experiences turn out to be mundane. They turn out to be, it was a misperception, or it was a dream, or it was a hallucination, or it was an illusion of some sort. There's always a simple explanation for these things. But if you go into the search for explanations looking for validation, then that's likely what you're going to find, but you won't learn anything.
I agree with you, actually, more than you think I do. It's just, huh?
No, continue.
See, I have like twin flame. I had a twin flame experience, and I don't want to say like it's that actual experience. It's just like the symptoms of it, like they all align, and it helps me have an intuitive framework to work with. Not saying that it's real, but that saying that exploring my story really helps me process the trauma and the pain that I've gone through.
What kind of experience did you have? Because I misheard what you said. You said I had a something experience, but I didn't hear what you said.
A twin flame experience.
I don't know what that is.
A twin flame experience.
Yes.
I also don't know what that means.
Basically, where it's two halves of a soul. It's two people that bring each other together for a spiritual awakening in this life. And it's like an all-consuming kind of love where you can't stop thinking about them and you love them forever kind of thing.
Okay. I don't know that anything you said makes any sense or is real at all. It sounds like, and I'm not saying it's not, I'm just saying that I don't get it, because you say, so for example, I don't believe we have a soul. As a matter of fact, I think the notion of a soul is the most obviously false, and I joke and say obviously dead, of all the concepts within theology. And so when I hear things about souls, I'm already like, okay, that's almost certainly false, but maybe what we're talking about is like poetic language. Like I had a conversation, an argument with Neil deGrasse Tyson once, because he had said some things that had irritated some, I don't know, some prickly atheist. And I'm fine with metaphoric language like Godspeed and the human spirit. Even though I don't think we have a soul, I think there's a metaphorical human spirit of adventure, human spirit, all that stuff. But I don't know what you're talking about, because it sounds like, if I'd be honest, I'm not trying to diminish it. I just need a better understanding or a better explanation. Sounds like you just really fell in love hard with somebody and used some poetic language to describe it.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I guess I just feel like you have biases too, and I'm not trying to be mean saying that. I just feel like there's biases that you have. There's biases that I have. Like, we all have biases. And I guess where I'm getting at is if there's some people that have intuitive thinking and there's some people that have thinking or kind of like thinking, kind of cognitive style thinking.
Okay.
I guess like.
Do you have a way to demonstrate that's true?
Demonstrate what's true, because I didn't.
That there are some people who have intuitive thinking and others. Like, I agree, everybody's got biases. But for example, my bias that might be impacting my view on a soul is that I favor evidence, and I'm not going to believe something until there's sufficient evidence for it. And I will actively disbelieve something when there's strong evidence against it. I pulled up a video. Can you actually see the screen?
No, I'm just on my phone.
Okay, then I won't play it. You may be familiar with it. If you want to find it, you can go on YouTube and just do a search for baseball interview catch. And what you'll see is Evan Longoria is in an interview, and he and the interviewer are kind of turned slightly towards the camera. And a ball comes hurtling from a long way away, and Evan, at the last second, turns, looks, and instantly catches it with his bare hand before it has the chance to hit them. There are people who would look at that and say, oh, that's some sort of precognitive ability. That's some sort of psychic ability. That's some sort of spiritual intuitiveness. Would you make that same decision?
Yes and no. I'm sorry. It's really more complicated than that. I'm trying to explain. I'm just a little nervous. Sorry.
No, it's fine. I can appreciate that you say yes and no, because you may have seen it, you may not have seen it. You're hearing it secondhand. There's somebody in chat saying, let John talk. Am I stopping you from talking, John?
I don't think so, no.
Okay. It's hilarious who tries to get in there. So here we go. If somebody were to ask me what I thought about that, I would not say that I had any reason to think that it was a precognitive ability or some sort of supernatural intuition. What I do recognize is that we're often bad at understanding how and why we know the things we know. Not every decision that you make is a process of structured heuristic thought and analysis. And yet I can close my eyes and walk through my house from memory, and we hear a lot of things that we don't recognize. And so maybe you're hearing the whistling of the ball getting closer, and as a professional baseball player who's been catching balls like that are whistling towards your head for years, you just intuitively hear the whistling and just do it. Free John, let him speak. Cool. I want to poll for that as well. Anyway, sorry, Sarah. I want to understand, but it seems like you and others are looking at things and saying, hey, I don't quite understand how or why this works or seems to work. And so you're reading more into it than I feel is justified, and I'm just looking for what the justification is.
Yeah, and I guess when I say I don't know, I don't have a safe lock on it. Like, I don't have like, oh, you can't explore this file. Like, I'm saying that explore this file and not claim that it's true, but have the benefits of praying to Jesus, which I have, and meditation, which is really good for trauma because I've been through a lot. And so these frameworks like really help me mentally stabilize myself. And there's actually evidence that if you look at the trees like outside with like an awe and a transcendence, that it makes you happier, and I do feel happier that way. I love nature.
Sarah, it just sounds like you're talking about normal human experiences and you're dressing them up in kind of spiritual New Age language. That's what's happening right now. The things that you're describing, intense connections to other people and feeling intuitions and emotions and wondering about your place in the world and all of these things, these are called being human. This is what being human is. But you don't have to interpret it through the lens of all of this, if you'll forgive me, kind of woo stuff. This is woo that we're hearing right now. We call it woo. It's just kind of nonsense. They're slippery, ephemeral words like spiritual that don't have clear definitions, that can kind of be co-opted to mean anything you want them to mean. That's what Matt was saying earlier about doesn't really have a meaning. And it's one of those kind of utility words. You can make it mean anything you want. Spiritual can mean important. It can mean transcendental. It can mean emotional. It can mean to do with your fundamental needs. It can be to do with your identity. I mean, it's like a sort of Swiss Army knife of words. You can use it for anything you want, and it can never be pinned down. And everyone in the world's got their own personal definition of how to use it. So all of this stuff you're saying is all quite tie-dye, if you'll forgive the phrase. And you don't really need to do it. Just live your life. And if you've got emotional things going on, find someone you trust, who you care about, who cares about you, and confide in them. And if you can't, then find a therapist to help you work through stuff. But all of this appeals to the transcendental and to spiritual realms and looking to affirm your spiritual experiences. You could end up chasing your tail for years and producing absolutely nothing of any value.
Okay. I guess I'm a little confused because I guess I'm more of an abstract thinker, and so I don't think that we can prove that there's an afterlife or a twin flame or whatever. I don't think you can prove that, so I'm just trying to cut to the chase and say that at least there's an intuitive framework, because that really helps me and like it makes me mentally stable.
Well, I appreciate that things are making you mentally stable, and I'm in favor of counseling, but how do you prove that what you're calling intuitive framework isn't just I'm bullshitting myself to be comfortable?
I don't think it's bullshit though.
That's not what I asked. I
Like,
know you don't. But that's what a self-reinforcing delusion does. Is if we don't grasp what's going on and we give it magical language, and it keeps happening, then every time something like that keeps happening, it reinforces the magical language part of it, when at no point is there any evidence that so you've decided that you don't think there's any way to prove this stuff. And I can't reach that conclusion. I have no idea what it's possible to demonstrate or not. And instead of saying, I'm convinced we can't ever prove this, therefore I'm going to believe it anyway, I'm saying, I don't know if we can ever prove it, but I can't believe it until we do, because belief prior to the demonstration that belief is warranted is by definition irrational. And so it feels a lot like I can't be proven wrong, so I'm going to stick with it because it feels good.
yeah, that's basically what it is. I'm gonna be honest.
Okay. Well, if that's what it is, then as long as you're not hurting yourself or other people,
No.
if that's what's working for you, there's no reason. I can give you reasons to stop, but there's no reason that you're going to come up with a stop. However, some of us care more about whether the things are true and rational. And if you care less about whether something's rational than whether it's comforting, that's something that you've got to work through. And if you stay that way forever and you never decide to care about rational thought over comfort,
but 80% I don't believe in God.
Were we talking about God?
Well, 80% I don't even believe in this stuff at all. I'm just using it as a framework, psychologically.
Okay. If I don't believe in something, why would I use it as a framework for something else?
Because sometimes what's helpful is the best thing.
How do you know it's the best thing?
Because, for example, if I were to call myself stupid, which my parents did all of my life, and then I'm succumbing to low self-esteem, and it's not helpful, even if it were true.
Okay, well, I don't think you're stupid. I think your parents were stupid to say you were stupid. Hang on, I'm going to put somebody in timeout for trying to tell me how to do the show because that amuses me. However, that also isn't really what I asked. So
I'm trying to give an example of what you asked.
So,
but
for
I know
example,
it doesn't all connect.
do you believe that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is real?
Mm-hmm. The universe? Yeah.
Wait, so you think there's an actual Fantastic Four in reality?
No, I think no. I think that there is an Earth and a universe and a solar system. I didn't know.
I'm sorry, maybe you didn't hear me.
Were...
Do you think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe full of superheroes is in fact real?
20%, yes.
Wow.
So 20% there's an act that the Spider-Man story is actually real.
Yes.
What justifies that 20% when we know exactly who created Spider-Man and who wrote those stories?
Abstract truth, I guess.
Okay, you win. I have nothing to possibly say.
I'm not sure I've got anything there either. Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry. Like, I just wanted to have a good discussion, and I really do agree at least 80%. And I don't know how to agree the 20%.
Okay. Then I would say you're at least 20% grossly irrational and misinformed about reality. But that doesn't mean you're a bad person or stupid. It just means you got some work to do.
Yeah, I do.
Well, I'd recommend reaching out to the Secular Therapy Project via recoveringfromreligion.org or seculartherapy.org and seeing if you can find somebody to talk, because there's great... There are people out there that know more than John and I that can help you come to grips with the things that you're struggling with. And if you want to move back to being more rational, I don't know how to help you with that. I mean, I can ask the questions and everything else, but I mean, there are decisions you're going to have to make, and maybe somebody with some more expertise can come in. But I mean, if somebody tells me that they're 20% sure that a story that we know is fiction and know who wrote it and who filmed it and who acted in it is 20% likely to be real, yeah, I don't know what to do. But I appreciate the call, and I wish you well.
Thank you so much. I've been wanting to talk to you for years.
Well, I hope we get to talk again sometime, but I got to run. There's some more theists calling in, and some of them are 100% sure there's a God. So that's, you're better than they are.
Good luck, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. John, if you'd have told me today that somebody would call in to say they were 20% confident that the MCU was real, I would have bet you my entire bank account. Not that there's not much there, but you could have bankrupted me.
Yeah, I didn't have that on my bingo card either. Yeah. Hey, you never know what you're going to find.
I just found an ant in my room. I'm going to have to call my exterminator. I'm not used to seeing ants in here, even though they're all over in Texas. All right. Hey, quick notes. So this is one of many shows here on the line. And this is my Wednesday night show. I have a lot of fun with it. It's not always all about religion. I like the fact that we're delving into spirituality, the supernatural, stuff like that. Those are fun conversations, if a little difficult. There are other shows on this network. Sorry, my meds are giving me this hiccup trapping thing again where I can't speak. There are other shows on this network. On Thursdays, it's the Transatlantic Cohen Show. And that is an opportunity to talk to trans folks about their lived experiences, their understandings, the best arguments to support them, the best ways to support them. If you've been called transphobic and you're wondering why, they can probably tell you. If you've been called transphobic and you're proud of it and you want to come in and clobber these, people wearing the clothing of the opposite gender and pretending and whatever else, that's a great opportunity to do that, because you need to be schooled, and it's nice to get that done by the people who know it better than almost anybody. Then there are a number of episodes of Calling It Now, and you should also tune in because the line has a podcast and other things, and these things are spread out. But on Sundays, we have the Sunday show and then the Sunday show after dark and a Calling It Now in between. On Mondays is Skep Talk, and that's where we frequently have engineers and scientists. And I'm talking PhD physicists, biologists, zoologists, primatologists in here. So if you're somebody, like I got a call on Sunday that was about the unlikeliness of DNA. And I did the best I could because, I've done this for years, but getting them to talk to somebody like Forrest or Blitz or Erica or Aaron Adair, that would have been much more useful for the specific questions they were asking. That's Mondays. Tuesdays, Chewed Gum in the evenings. Both of these are at 6 o'clock. Chewed Gum has a lot to do with purity culture and the impact of religion on women. Because you're going to see a lot of dudes on these shows, and that's kind of a bad thing. Hang on, there's somebody in chat who's going to annoy the hell out of me. So let's put somebody on who's a theist and let John start talking. We got John from Texas. Everybody's calling from Texas. And he says there are real Christians, and he disagrees the God of the Bible is evil. You're talking out of your behind. Hey, John, how are you? You're on with John and me, maybe.
I'm doing well. How are you?
Pretty
Hi,
good.
John.
Am I coming through clearly?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you. So what's your position then on the God of the Bible? You think the God in the Bible is evil or is not evil?
No, I mean, I wouldn't say he's evil by any means. Maybe some things by today's standard could be viewed as, I guess, quite strict, but I wouldn't say so, especially for the times.
Right. For clarity, before we get sidetracked down there, how much of the Bible do you think accurately describes what, if the Bible says God did something, is that just true that God did it?
I personally believe so.
So when it says that God had David's wives raped and God flooded the entire planet except for one family, you think God did those things, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't say he had the wives raped. I think that's maybe a bit of a misinterpretation. But flooding the earth. Yes.
Well, I'm sorry, but does anything happen that doesn't go according to God's plan?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we have free will, and people are going to act
however
no. They'd like.
If God, John, I'm sorry, John, I don't need the excuses. If God says He's going to do something, and it happens, is God the one that made it happen?
No, we have free will.
Okay, so if God says, I'm going to do this, and it happens, that's our free will?
Well, no, if God says He's doing something and He does it, of course, that's God, but not every event throughout history is God.
I didn't... See, this is the problem, John, and I'm going to bow out of the conversation in a minute because I have a real problem with dishonest people. I'm asking very specific questions, and you're already making excuses for them. Are you familiar with 2 Samuel?
I'm giving you my honest answers. I'm not trying to be dishonest by any
No,
means.
no,
here.
you're not. I asked you, are you familiar with 2 Samuel? And you decided to dodge again.
Okay, no, please enlighten me.
Sure. So you're familiar with the story of David and Bathsheba, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's 2 Samuel 11. And in that story, here's the quick breakdown. David falls in love with Bathsheba, or actually, he wants to have sex with Bathsheba, and her husband is one of David's soldiers who's out fighting. And so David has Bathsheba come over to his place, and they hook up. You're familiar with that, right?
Right.
So David wants to hide this indiscretion, and so he invites her husband back and tries to get him to have sex with her while he's back in town because Bathsheba got pregnant, and they need to hide the fact that he's going to be raising David's bastard child. So when Bathsheba's husband refuses to sleep with her because his men on the field can't sleep because he's a good soldier, David sends him out with specific instructions to have him killed. That makes David kind of a monster, right? Because he had sex with another dude's wife, knocked her up, and then intentionally had that guy killed.
Okay.
Right? So God is unhappy with David for what he's done. This is what's in the story. So what does God say to David that he's going to do?
Oh, I do remember. Yeah, he says the Holocaust never happened. Hail Hitler, white power, nigger. Whoa! Fuck the Jews. Fuck the kike. Heil Hitler, baby. White fucking power.
I got your phone number, you racist piece of shit. I knew it.
His mother must be so proud.
I got your phone number, you racist piece of shit. John, racist
Delightful.
piece of
Delightful.
shit. See, this is one of the things. There are people who they get a little frustrated because when I get in take no bullshit mode, you talk about being intuitive. I've been doing this for 20 some odd years. And I can often tell, even if I can't always describe it, just by how the person is speaking, what they opt to answer and what they opt to not answer and how they opt to answer it, whether or not we're dealing with someone who's sincere. I'm not always going to get it right. But, and people in chat try to play this game too. There are times when people in chat are like, oh, it's a troll, it's a troll, it's a troll. And sometimes they're right. And sometimes they're not. But if somebody listened to the first part of this call, right up to when he pulled the mask off and showed what a piece of shit he was, there are people out there that would be saying, God, Matt is so insufferable. Why won't he let this guy just answer? Why won't he let you? Because I've been doing this for a while and I understand this shit way better than you. Doesn't mean I'm always right. I'll get it wrong. I don't know if I'm intuitive. I don't know if I have some kind of spiritual advantage in detecting racists and bullshitters. All right. But while I go use my burner phone to send a text message to this racist piece of shit who needs to be banned, I'm sure Luthian's already done that. Let's get somebody else in because we have another theist on the phone who's not from Texas. So Brad's a theist in Oklahoma, pronouns are him. Says he believes in God, but doesn't believe we should get our morals from the Bible. Hey, Brad, you're on with John and maybe me if I get done with this racist.
Hey, so sorry. I'm stepping outside because I'm remodeling my house, so it's all echoey and that.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
just bought a new house, so
Oh,
I'm
congrats.
outside now. Hopefully the cicadas aren't too crazy.
What have you got?
Sorry,
What have you got, Brad?
So, actually, my real name is Peter Parker. I wanted to talk about earlier when you guys. No, I'm kidding. Anyway, so
Okay, hang on. Brad, I'm going to mute you for just a second. Just listen. Just for clarity, I did hear you say you were kidding right at the end. Cool. Please don't do that. We get lots of trolls, and you just heard one. There's a lot of concern that nobody calling in is serious. I love to laugh. I love to have fun. I love to do jokes. I do not need it at all in the show because I almost hit disconnect on your ass before you could say that you're kidding. So let's reset. We'll have fun after we get to know each other. But since this is the first time you've ever called, nobody knows who the fuck you are. Don't start right after a racist fucking phone call with a joke because I'm quick on the trigger to hang up. When we get back, I don't need you to apologize. Let's not go over it. Let's not belabor the point. Let's just get to what you're going to demonstrate and move on. So Brad's here from Oklahoma, pronouns he, him. Brad wants to talk about God, but why we shouldn't get our morals from the Bible.
All right. So I've been wrestling with this idea for a little while now. And I personally think that our morals should come from a place that is more like how you explain, like love or something like that, where I know love is more of like a chemical reaction to things, or that's how people can explain it with science. But I think that morality comes from the idea of like an empathetic place where if you do something wrong to somebody, it actually like hurts in your stomach. And that to me is kind of where the idea of God comes in for me, not necessarily the Bible. It's more how I feel like I should treat my fellow humans more than I should get a rule book from somebody, because I'm sorry, this is going to be a little bit longer, but I don't believe
Brad,
that my...
Brad,
yes.
There's some background noise. There's some terrible background noise. If this is going to be long, I will not be able to stand the background noise.
I got you.
Thank you.
Has that made it better?
Brad, that's a bit
a lot better.
Yeah, it's a lot better.
Okay.
Can I just come in on what you said there, Brad? Because we all agree with you that getting your morals from a book is completely idiotic. So you've actually pinned something really useful, which is that where we get our morals from quite a lot of the time is an understanding that morals is to do with how we should treat each other and the fact that our actions have effects on other people. And if we care about human well-being, then that provides a great basis to judge things. And you're onto something valuable there. But then you tied it back to God. Why do you need to do that? Because I agree with you about all of that stuff, but I don't think we need to involve a God in that discussion at all. You can just use common sense. And you can say, well, I care about the well-being of other people. I understand that my actions impact the well-being of other people. And because I care about them, that creates an aim for me. My aim is I want to positively impact other people, not negatively. And there's a great place for you to define your morals, right? Act in a way that benefits other people. Don't act in a way that harms other people. What does a God add to that?
Well, one of the things that kind of scares me when people get their, like they say they get their morals from the Bible, is that I think that people are only being good because they're going to get a reward out of it in the end, instead of being good to be good. And like if you're promised this eternal paradise and you're going to be good, but deep down you're thinking about all the terrible things that you could do to somebody, you're not a good person. You're masking your demon to get into paradise.
We agree with all of that. But when you described basing your morality on how you said you feel it physically, you don't want to hurt other people, that's great. I'm with you 100%. Sign me up for that all day long. But then you said, but that's how you see God comes into it. You said words to that effect. What does God add to that?
Well, I believe that people, they follow like the 10 Commandments, and they go, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that, I shouldn't do this. But my idea draws back to the idea that you shouldn't do those things because those things aren't good. Earlier, using the example of, I can't remember the story, the David story that was brought up earlier. These aren't good things. These aren't things that you should aspire to do, and it's actively harming. I have this feeling, for me, that kind of like the apple of knowledge was bad for Adam and Eve to eat. They shouldn't have acquired the knowledge. To me, the knowledge is sin, and then afterwards they become ashamed of their own bodies and allow, like, they have to cover themselves up. We are still covering ourselves up, but if we're living a holy life, why aren't we walking around naked and being free and easy?
Yeah, that's a bit of a wild pivot, isn't it? From a conversation about where we get our morals from. You were doing so well. You were doing so well.
Yeah.
So let's just agree that all the biblical morality is all bollocks, right? It's all complete nonsense. We don't need any of it.
Can I? Do you think that the Adam and Eve story is real?
No. I think it's allegory for.
Okay. Why did you bring it up at all? If you don't think we should get our morality from the Bible, and you don't think the story is real, I don't understand why it came up at all.
Oh, because we're still following that moral code of being dressed. I know that we are probably
No.
doing it for other reasons.
No. Yes, we do it. We do it for many other reasons as well. It's not just a moral thing.
Yeah.
I don't wear clothes just because somebody thinks it's moral.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we're going to have a real conversation about morality, can we not mention, a fictional story that you're misrepresenting as the reason we're not naked? I mean, I don't consider anything about naked to be moral. Can we pick something that is like, do we agree it's wrong to kill people? Except perhaps maybe in self-defense or whatever? Like, I think we could all agree that if there was a 3-year-old sitting in the driveway, all of us would agree that it would be absolutely immoral to go out and slaughter that 3-year-old, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. And so if we agree with that,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Then what's the issue? I mean, you believe in God. I still don't know why, and I'd be interested in that. But if we agree on the morality thing, I'd rather talk about what we don't agree on.
I might have misunderstood the prompt of getting the morality from the Bible. I thought it was all your morals should come directly from the Bible, and I was like, no, that's a bad idea. The Bible is full of a bunch of stuff that's not good and shouldn't be repeated. It's only made good from a different lens that you're looking through.
We agree with you about all of that.
Do you think we need to believe in a God?
Do I think that you need to believe in it, or that in general that we need to believe in a God? No, I don't think people need to believe in a God to be a good person or to go to where they're going to go.
Okay, so belief in God is completely irrelevant according to you.
Yes.
Okay. And yet you're convinced there is a God. Why?
I've had a lot of experiences through my life, and there's no way I can actually point to anything and say this is definitive or this is definitive. It's all.
That's not what I asked. Why is it every time I ask a very clear question, I get these dodges about, there were experiences, and I can't prove anything definitive. Did I ask you to prove anything definitive? Hi, sorry, dumbass. I'm still on the show. I'll get back to you and your mom later. Sorry, I'm having fun with the racist.
Oh, no. Oh, gotcha.
I'm sorry,
figured, but
you couldn't see me pick up the phone.
That nearly came out wrong.
I don't mean to dodge the question. For me, there's that base feeling in my gut that for me is a religious experience, or like points to religion or a God. And it's more of a feeling than it is anything that I can directly point at.
Okay. Do you think the reason you believe is of value to anybody else?
For my own belief is only of value to me. Like, I want to help other people and be good, but that's just because of what I think is good.
All right. I only have one more question that I can think of right now, although there may be a follow-up. Do you care if your belief is actually true?
Do I care if my belief is actually true? I want it to care. I want it to matter. But I don't know how to make it matter to anybody, not in my personal belief, but just belief in being good can transfer to other people other than just talking.
I don't know if that was an answer to the question. I give up, John.
Yeah, it feels a little bit like, Brad, it feels a bit like you're stuck in wanting to talk about being good. We're all in agreement about that. We're all in agreement that just treat other people nicely is a pretty good basis for being good. If you do that, you're going to be a decent person, right? And we're all in agreement that the ethics that the Bible offers are completely horrific. We're all in agreement about that too. What Matt was asking you about wasn't really anything to do with being good. It was, why do you believe in a God? And are the reasons that you have for believing in a God reasons that would be persuasive to anyone else? That was really what he was trying to get you to
got it.
Explain.
So can you repeat the two questions again real quick?
Yeah, what reason is there? Because when we started off the conversation, you gave this really sensible basis for ethics, and then you tied it back to a God. And then we spoke about other things, and you tied it back to a God. And so because you kept on tying the conversation back to a God, Matt asked you, you keep on mentioning this God fellow. Why do you think there is a God? And that's really what we're interested in exploring. So what makes you think that a God exists at all?
So I believe that a God exists. I can't give a better answer than I believe a God exists because I feel it deep down that there is a God, and that's kind of just my guiding light with that situation. I don't know how to give another answer to that, really.
Yeah, it's tricky because we can't engage with your feelings, right? Nobody else has access to those feelings, and lots of people have feelings about lots of things. So really what these discussions tend to be about is providing reasons that would be normally convincing to other people. But if you're just saying you just feel it, somebody else could just feel that there isn't a God, and somebody else could feel that there's a different God, and somebody else could feel that there's pixies or fairies or Puff the Magic Dragon. But feelings alone don't an argument make.
Yeah, I completely understand that. That's the basis of that. There is no other way to move on that one. I guess my intentions for calling in and talking about this specifically is because I feel like, in a sense, and I'm going to tie it back to why I called anyway, is just the idea that I think that the Bible kind of paints everything it's not correct. It's not. I don't believe in really. I don't believe in the Bible. I believe in God, and I know the Bible is kind of like the book you need to read in order to be a good follower, but I don't believe that either. I think that the Bible does a lot of things that misrepresent or guide people down a wrong pathway. And that's kind of why I decided to call in and say that morals shouldn't come from that specific thing.
We get that. But it's interesting because you're not calling in and saying, I don't believe in the Quran, but I believe in God. And you're not saying I don't believe in the Bhagavad Gita, but I believe in God. You're picking the Bible as if that's the only show in town. So the God that you believe in, is it anything to do with the Bible, or is it just a book you brought up just because it's the one you've heard of?
I'm equally as open as saying I don't believe in the Quran. I don't believe in these other written accounts of the Bible. I believe, or different religions' Bibles, because I believe that they're mainly just a rule set, broadly speaking, that people should have followed, like don't eat shellfish because it'll make you sick, or don't eat pork because it's dirty. Those things are just kind of like rules that people are meant to follow.
So we've agreed that these books are full of rules that we should all ignore. We completely agree with you there. Mm-hmm. You think that a God exists, but you can't tell us why. You just have a feeling about it. And that seems to be kind of where we've got to. It's a bit hard to know where to take the conversation from there because we can't engage with your emotional state around this. We can only really engage with arguments and evidence and reasons, right? We're not really hearing those.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
If I'm doing like, I look for signs in other things, how the wind is blowing, how the clouds look. If those are ways that God speaks to me, not trying to sound like a crazy person, but just like those things speak to me internally, and I feel like I get a message from it. That's my basis on how I believe.
Yeah. Okay. I'm not sure if I can add too much there. Matt, have you got anything?
I'm trying. It's Brad. Don't take this the wrong way. My brother's named Brad. He's one of the best people in history I know. You are unintentionally really pissing me off, and it's because the whole purpose of the show is for people to call in and defend what they believe that we don't believe. And what you've done is call in to say a bunch of stuff that we agree with, then throw out some irrelevant Bible stuff, and then point out that you don't believe the Bible, and then say that you might like to maybe believe you might like to prefer it if your beliefs were true, but offer nothing to demonstrate that you do give a shit if they're true, or how you could know, or how anybody could know. And that's really, I mean, I understand that there are people who probably care more about comfort than truth. And I know there are people who care about truth, but don't necessarily know how to explain that. But you can't even decide how much you care if it's true, how you know, or how you would know it was true. And so you've given me absolutely nothing to work with, which means we've just wasted 20 minutes.
Well, I'm sorry that you've wasted 20 minutes. Honestly, I think that faith comes from a place that you can't, it's, if you know something exists, then you don't believe that something exists. There's a difference between knowing and believing. I can't
No,
tell
you're
you.
wrong. No, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. So first of all, faith is the excuse people give for believing things when they don't have a good reason. All knowledge is a subset of belief. There is nothing that you know that you do not also believe.
I can see that if you know something, you believe something, that makes logical sense. I think that
It's not a
religion
matter
falls
of
under that.
It's not a.
Sorry.
All knowledge is, in philosophical terms, knowledge is a justified true belief. Colloquially, as I use it, knowledge is a belief held to such a high degree of confidence it would be worldview altering to discover it was wrong. But the important thing is there are things that you believe. All belief is something that you are convinced is likely true. All knowledge is a belief that you are either incredibly strongly convinced in or feel that there's incredibly good justification for. Knowledge is definitionally a subset of belief. It's not like, oh, you have faith and then there are things that you know. That's a false dichotomy.
Yeah, a belief doesn't stop being a belief once you remove uncertainty. That's another way of thinking about it. It's not the case that you must have a degree of uncertainty in something for it to be a belief, and once you remove that, it stops. A belief is just something that you think is true about the world, and knowledge is a belief that you just think is true with a huge degree of confidence and certainty. That's all. That happens to be true.
Well, do you mind if I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
If knowledge, if you need to know something to believe in something, or you need that basis of knowledge.
No.
Other way around, Brad. You need to believe something to know it.
If you need to believe something to know it, what, I guess, would you need to see a miracle to then be like a believer? I'm sorry. Do you need to see something miraculous happen that is unexplainable to then be to believe in something like God?
Not necessarily. It wouldn't necessarily have to be a miracle. It would just have to be some evidence which is compelling. It could be a miracle, it could be a really powerful argument, it could be an experience you have, it could be a dream, it could be anything. Becoming convinced is just a thing that happens to you when something convinces you. So we're not going to say, well, it would have to be a miracle. We don't know what it is, and we don't have to define in advance. Matt gets asked every day, and I get asked every day, what would it take to convince you? And the answer that I give certainly is I have no idea. I suspect strongly that Matt would say the same thing. But if there is a God who wants us to know that he's there, then he would know, and he could convince us in whatever way he sees fit. That might be with a miracle, or it might be sending a really smart apologist in to talk to us and give us really compelling arguments. I know in many years of waiting, that's never happened, but it could happen. Maybe it could happen today. But we don't have to define at the beginning, like beforehand, this is what it would take to convince me. If something comes along and it's convincing, then it's convincing, and then you're convinced, and then belief happens to you. You have no say in the matter.
That's totally a fair explanation of that. And I guess for me, the most solid proof that I have for myself was a dream, but I can't share that with
Oh my God.
with anybody. I can't give that to any of you guys.
Well,
Okay.
before you go,
I can share the story, but
no, please don't. Go ahead, Mike.
yeah, I got you.
I need to say this for my own fucking sanity. You're a nice guy, Brad. Don't take any of this the wrong way. A minute ago, you asked, would we need to see, I wrote it down, a miracle that is unexplainable in order to believe in God?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, don't answer any of this. I genuinely do not need to hear you try to address any of it. Just think about it, write it down, record it, and go off and think about it elsewhere, because being under the gun on the show is not the place for you to learn how confused you are. How do you know that it's unexplainable rather than unexplained? Second, if it is in fact unexplainable or unexplained, then the state of affairs is that you have no explanation, including God. It's like an unidentified flying object. If it's unidentified, it's not an alien spacecraft, because that's a fucking identification. And you are saying, oh, well, we need to see a miracle that was unexplained. No. As I pointed out earlier tonight, we could actively witness something that has no known natural explanation, a complete instantaneous remission of cancer that's well documented, and all we would know is something happened and we don't know why. Not knowing why is not a justification to go leaping to the supernatural or pretending that there's some being that you don't know anything about, can't demonstrate, can't investigate, that is the actual answer. That is grossly irrational. You need to get comfortable with saying, I don't know, and until I have more information, it is absolutely absurd and irrational and unreasonable for me to reach a conclusion about this. That's what you got to do.
Yeah,
Can I completely understand.
add something to that?
Sorry.
I'm going to add something. No, it's cool, Brad. I just want to add something to that, because we don't need to hear what your dream was, and it really doesn't matter. Just think to yourself. Just think to yourself. Are there any dreams that you can't possibly have if no God exists? Just ask yourself that question. Are there dreams that you cannot have if no God exists? And then as you go away and think about this conversation afterwards, let that question ring in your head, because it might help you to think about the way you're considering your dream. So are there any dreams that you cannot have if it's true that there's no God? And that might help you to think about it more clearly.
Gotcha. And thank you guys very much for being on the line with me. Sorry if I wasted your guys' time. It was a huge pleasure being able to talk to you guys.
I hope you got something out of it. I hope you got something out of it, and somebody watching this is probably in a similar position and they can get something out of it. But until we got down to where we could narrow down, here's what the actual issue is. Yeah, it was just blah, blah, blah. But I think we got somewhere. So we'll move on and keep thinking, Brad. Ask yourself some questions. And ask other people.
Have a good night. Oh, so sorry.
You too.
You got it. Yeah.
All right. This is going to be fun and weird. I'm tempted. I have to do this. Anthony's a theist from New Jersey. Pronouns are him, calling in to say, do the hosts want Jesus, God, to be real? Hey, Anthony, how are you?
I am quite well. Thank you for having me on.
Sure. I have a question.
Hello? Oh. Okay.
What difference could it possibly make whether we want Jesus to be real?
Well, I'm not asking that as an argument for God. It's more just...
I didn't say you were. And here's what's weird. What question did I just ask you?
Well, what difference? I mean, to answer your question, I would have to know, like, what difference to what? Like, to your life?
Anthony, why are you wanting to ask us whether or not we want Jesus or God to be real? That's not the subject of the show. It's not relevant to... I'm sorry, I'm still talking. It's not the subject of the show. It's not relevant to why you believe. It's not relevant to why anybody should believe. It is absolutely useless information. I don't know whether... I'm still talking. I know that's difficult.
Why did you accept my call?
I don't know whether or not I want Jesus or God to be real. It depends on what that means, and I still don't know what that means, even though I was a Christian for 30 fucking years. So why are you asking us whether or not we want Jesus or God to be real?
Because there are some atheists who do and some atheists who don't, and I would be curious to hear your positions.
Okay, there are some atheists that have long penises and some atheists that have short penises. There are some atheists that have diarrhea every day, and there are some that don't, but none of that is relevant to the show.
Then why did you pick up my call?
Because I thought this was going to be amusing that a theist called in to ask a really silly question. And I thought maybe we'd get past the silly question and you could get around to defending what you actually believe.
What I believe? I mean, I was under the assumption, that this was a call-in show where if they didn't like your question, they just wouldn't pick up. So I'm just wondering why.
No, Anthony, this is a call-in show where you're supposed to, be calling in specifically as an opposition to defend what you believe that you think we should believe.
Well, I think this is a problem with your screening process then, because they let me.
Okay. Well, I've just fixed the problem with the screening process. He's gone. Michael is calling in from New Jersey. Michael's a theist, pronouns are him. And hey, I'm not sure I get all this, but I'll let you get into it. Belief comes from your upbringing, and then you go your own way once you grow up. God is beyond evidence and our comprehension. Host has no idea if there is or isn't a God. Education is the easy way out. Michael, that's a lot of stuff, and most of it is wrong. So why don't you tell us what's going on?
All right, guys. Hey, I'm watching the show. Listen to the show. Great show. I'm enjoying it, so I had to call it. I went to Catholic school as a child in Brooklyn, New York.
Michael.
I had the nuns, the priests.
Hey, Michael.
Yeah.
I don't need your life story.
Okay. Giving you a little background, my friend. So anyway.
I don't need any background. Michael, is there anything about your background that will enlighten us as to whether or not God is real?
Is God real? That's a heavy question.
I'm sorry. What question do you think I just asked you?
You're hosting a talk show, right?
What question do you think I just asked you? Are you capable of answering the question? Why did you call in? Why would you call into a show and refuse to answer? Are you going to try and talk over me? You're going to crash out? Why would you call into a show and refuse to answer the most basic question that allows a conversation to happen? What question did I ask you?
I'll tell you that you asked me if God is real. Prove to you that God is real.
No, I didn't. Okay. No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
No.
No, I didn't.
No.
That's not what I asked you.
You asked me if God is real.
I'm sorry.
You asked
Hey,
the guy
John,
before
did I
that,
ask you if
Jesus
God was real?
No.
You asked
I didn't
for
ask you
proof.
if God
said
was
proof
real. I
of
didn't
God
ask
is
you if
real.
Jesus is real. It would help, Michael. It would help a lot if you'd actually listen and respond to the question you're asked. What I told you is, I don't need your life story. And then I asked you, is there anything about, see, why are you talking over me? Can you not fucking wait? I asked you, oh, thanks for the permission. I'll be quiet for a minute. I asked you if there was anything about your life story that could possibly edify us, enlighten us on whether or not God is real.
No, there's nothing in my life story that can do that.
Then let's skip your life story and get around to you demonstrating how John and I can know that God is real. That would be the useful part, right?
Absolutely.
Cool. Let's get to it. Thank you.
Okay. God is real. God is not a comprehensible type of thing. That's my opinion.
Oh, I'm sorry,
on what
Michael.
God is.
Michael, I got to stop you there.
Yeah. Okay.
I asked you how we can know that God is real, and you said God is real, but he's not comprehensible. How can there be something that isn't comprehensible that you can know is real?
Well, because we can't comprehend the whole scenario. You can't comprehend the afterlife.
I'm sorry, Michael, what question did I ask you? Michael, what question did I ask you?
You asked me. I know the question you asked me. I'm not a stupid person.
No, you don't.
I've
No, you
been
don't.
down the road.
No, you
So,
don't. No, you
You're asking
don't.
me about God.
No, you don't.
And can I put?
You don't know the question.
You can't
That's why you won't
comprehend
answer
God.
when I ask
The
you
thing
what
is that
question I
you go
asked
the
you.
route of,
Michael, you're
I went to
incapable of
college,
actually listening. And with
evolution.
are you just going to
and all
crash
that
out?
kind of stuff. I believe in evolution.
Are you just going
I
to
believe
crash
in
out?
creation. Well,
I didn't
I'm
ask
sure
you
you're
what
gonna
you
kick me off
believe
the
in,
show
did
now.
I?
That's great.
Here, let me mute
You
you.
don't like to
Let me
argue.
mute you. We're going to try this again because, Michael, you're incapable of actually having an honest conversation here. I don't even know why you called in. It's really embarrassing. As a former Christian, I can answer these questions really simply. Now, first of all, I don't think that the God concept is incomprehensible. I think you don't have a complete comprehension of God, but that you can comprehend what a God is. As a matter of fact, people have been doing it for all kinds of gods for most of the history of the world. And the gods fall into a bunch of different categories. As a matter of fact, even within theology and philosophy, we have what's called the God of classical theology, which is the omnimax God, the God that is all powerful, all knowing, etc. Then there's more modern notions where God is just maximally powerful and things like, oh, you ran away. Michael ran away.
To be fair, that mic was cooked.
Yeah, that mic was really bad.
The audio was, not good.
Well, Michael, I'm disappointed that you ran away instead of actually answering questions. Here was the question I'm getting to. When you say God is real, that is the claim, and now you need to justify it. And if the next words out of your mouth is that God isn't comprehensible, I have to stop you there. Because I don't know how anyone can say, I do not comprehend X, but I know it's real. All I was asking was for you to explain how that is. Now, I might have missed something. So, for example, there may be something that is incomprehensible that we can in fact know is real. It's just nothing comes to mind. There may be somebody, if you're out there in chat, if you're a philosopher, theologian, if you can think, maybe John knows. John, is there something that you can think of that we would call incomprehensible, but acknowledge it's real? Because I just didn't get it.
Not really. I mean, you alluded to it. You said you could say that there's a limit to the extent to which we can understand the details of a thing. Then you can still assert its existence, but you can just say, well, we know it's there, we know it exists, but there's still stuff we have to learn about it. You can infer its existence, like dark matter or stuff like that, where we may know it's there, but we don't know enough about it yet. But that's different to it being incomprehensible. And the incomprehensibility of God is really just provided as an excuse for the fact that none of it makes any sense. So it's just a get out, isn't it? Really, it's silly.
It's weird because I could go, hey, I don't understand gravity, but I can comprehend things about gravity such that I'm aware and can probably justify that gravity is real. We can describe what it does I can talk about how here on Earth, if I take this pen and I drop it, we know that with some variation, whatever, it falls with an acceleration that we describe as gravity of 9.8 meters per second squared. And I'm an American who barely understands what a fucking meter is. So, I mean, when we start listening to all the incomprehensible things there, but to say God is incomprehensible. Now, if you look at the list of all the things that were in his thing, God was incomprehensible. I can't even remember it all now, and he's gone, so I don't see the list. Maybe it's on the other one. It's so strange. Yeah, here it was. Belief comes from your upbringing. Let me cut and paste this because I want to go through I want to give Michael the fair shake that he refused to give himself. So here we go. Michael started with belief comes from your upbringing. You can certainly be taught things by your parents, Michael. And there are certainly things that you're more likely to adopt because of your culture and your upbringing. But belief is the status of accepting a proposition as true or likely true. And there are many things that I believe that don't come from anything I was raised with or born with. As a matter of fact, I was raised in a predominantly Christian environment, was going to be a preacher, and now I don't believe those things at all. I was raised specifically surrounded and indoctrinated into beliefs about a number of different things, about race, sex, sexuality, gender, and I've changed my mind on many of those, not because I was raised to change my mind to those things, but because evidence informed me. I was taught things in school, and some of it was wrong, and my belief on those things changed because of evidence. So your first statement that belief comes from your upbringing is kind of an oversimplification of some beliefs can be the result of indoctrination, but those are the beliefs that we probably should challenge the most, because that's not a particularly good reason to believe something. It's a good reason to start believing something, because we have a kind of culture where we rely on our parents, and those people survived, so probably not the case that all their beliefs are bullshit. They probably know some stuff, like don't go sticking your hand on the stove type thing, and whatever. All right, then he said, God is beyond evidence and our comprehension. Okay, if God is beyond our comprehension, I don't know how you can even write that sentence. What is it that you're describing that is beyond our comprehension? Because that means it's nonsense. You might as well have said, Fergal, Burgle, Minergal, Burgle is beyond evidence and our comprehension. And I still would have had to ask you, how the fuck can you know that if Fergal, Burgle, Minergal, Burgle is beyond your comprehension? But also, if it's beyond evidence, then that's an admission you can't have a rational reason to believe it, and neither can anyone else. Even if you're not just relying on empirical evidence, if you say God is beyond evidence, then you're admitting there can be no rational justification under any epistemological model.
You also can't declare that he's beyond comprehension, because if he's beyond evidence, you would need some evidence to justify any claims about how hard it is to comprehend God. So you would need some evidence to justify even that silly claim. So the one claim kind of undoes the other. It's all a bit of a mess.
He also said, and this is, I was wrong when I said almost everything he said was false, because the next sentence is, host has no idea if there is or isn't a God. You're correct. Thank you, Michael. I have no idea if there is or isn't a God. There are some gods that have been proposed, which I know are not real. They are self-contradictory. They contradict facts of nature, things like that. And by no, I don't mean absolutely certain. I mean knowledge in a sense of extreme confidence. I believe they are not real. For others, they've been insufficiently described and are sufficiently untestable that I have no way of knowing whether they exist or not. And my point is not, Michael is very clearly another person who thinks that an atheist is someone who claims to know that God doesn't exist. And in fact, while we can claim to know that some gods don't exist, I don't know that there are no gods, and I don't need to, because the burden of proof is on the people who claim there is a God. And so if you say You have no idea whether a God exists. We're in the same boat. The problem is you believe there's a God and you assert that God is real. And I'm rational, so I try to avoid going out and asserting things that I simultaneously think nobody can know. Sorry if that was difficult. Oh, here we go. Michael's an agnostic from California who's been on hold for an hour and a half. And so out of respect for that diligence, I'm going to shut up now. Michael, you're on with John and maybe me.
Well, hello, shipmate. Where'd you serve?
Lots of different places. Little Creek Amphibious Base, the USS Theodore Roosevelt. I went to boot camp in Orlando.
Yeah, bosun's mate. I was a machinist mate on the JFK. How you doing?
I was a nuke.
And
I was a
hello,
nuke
John,
ET
as well.
that got booted out and became a bosun mate. But yeah.
There you go. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Okay.
What have you got?
There's a bit of a delay, so I'm sorry if, I'm not as charismatic as I seem to be. So my question is, what is either of yours, both of your perspective on the historicity of Jesus? Jesus Christ of Nazareth.
Go ahead, John.
Okay, so the consensus amongst experts in this area, and when there's something as specialized as this, we would do well to defer to people who make it their life's work to study this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to ask me a question like that, I'm going to ask the people with the PhDs. And it seems that there is a consensus that there was someone on whom these stories are based. It seems very likely that there probably was an itinerant, charismatic preacher who gathered a little bit of a cult following, probably got himself executed for breaking various laws. And that's what started the cult, which then grew to become what we now call Christianity. So one doesn't need to say that Jesus didn't exist at all. There are people who make that claim, but my personal opinion is I'm happy to be led by the consensus amongst scholars who say, yeah, this stuff probably is based on a person who exists. But of course, that is a million miles away from granting that we can know anything at all about the details of the life of this person. We can know nothing with certainty about anything he did. We can know nothing with certainty about anything he said. And we can certainly know nothing with anything even approximating confidence that he performed a single miracle or did anything like that. So, there are some people who seem to equate accepting that Jesus lived with therefore accepting all the accounts of what he did. And that's not a position that I would hold, and I suspect not Matt either.
Understood. And if Matt, I could respond to John before you give your example.
Go for it.
I would find your explanation kind of like in line with mine, aside from, like, I know that there's a lot of evidence that the Shroud of Turin has been, like, it's been examined, it's been dated to the 12th century. I understand that. But I'm trying to get over, like, having been a Catholic. I'm no longer a Catholic, but I was confirmed and stuff, but I'm trying to get over it. That's what I have to say to you, John. Thank you for giving your testimony. Now, Matt, if you'd like to say something. Hello? Oh.
Yeah. I'm not a mythicist. I think the mythicist claims are overstated and a mild shifting of the burden of proof that's unnecessary. It's enough to point out that Christians can't demonstrate that the person they're talking about existed in a meaningful way, or that we have any accurate record of anything that person did. Certainly, the miracle claims are unwarranted to believe, given the available claims, without additional evidence.
Yeah.
And so while I'm happy to go with historians that it's most likely that there's somebody, or maybe even several somebodies, who became the foundation for these stories, that I have no reliable original documentation of any of it. And even if I knew for sure that Jesus absolutely existed and turned water to wine and walked on water, which isn't even close to where we're at. That also wouldn't demonstrate.
Prove he was God.
Never mind.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry. I did interrupt you. I'm sorry.
That also wouldn't demonstrate that he rose from the dead or was divine. But
yes, it wouldn't prove he was God. Correct. But wouldn't that miraculous evidence go to somewhere to, like, kind of prove that some sort of divine presence is present?
Why?
No.
Wouldn't it? Something we could not explain is something possibly outside of explanation.
Prove it. Prove that something we can't explain.
Sure.
Hang on. Prove that something we can't explain is outside of explanation, and then explain how if something is outside of explanation.
Right.
I'm sorry, I'm still talking. And then after showing that something is outside of explanation, show what your justification is for explaining it by appealing to a god or anything supernatural.
Well, I didn't appeal to the supernatural. I appealed to the God, which I guess I would put.
So you don't think those miracle claims that you're trying to solve by God are supernatural? I'm sorry.
What? You're sorry for what?
Well, I'm sorry for misrepresenting you, what I thought was the most obvious thing. You're suggesting that if there's something we can't explain, that it's justified in some way to appeal to a god. Are you suggesting that it's justified to appeal to a non-supernatural god?
No, I didn't say that they are because of that. I didn't make the claim that they are. I made the claim that they could be.
How do you show that they could be?
That not be out of the purview.
How do you show they could be?
Because we don't know what they are, I suppose. Like, it couldn't.
So you're unfamiliar with a basic logical fallacy of an argument from ignorance, and you're saying because we don't know something, that means it could be supernatural, or could be God, or could be magic, or could be what?
I'm not saying it is. I'm saying it could.
I didn't say you said it was. Michael, you need to listen. How do you know that it is possible for it to be whatever you're suggesting it is?
Well, I don't know that the supernatural is possible, so I suppose that's correct.
So you're saying if we don't have an explanation, isn't it possible it's X? And I'm saying, how do you know X is a possibility?
This is where I get hung up on the history.
I'm aware of that.
Anything. How do we say that, like, Socrates existed? How do we say that?
Okay,
there are no
Michael, this is stupid.
Historical records of.
Michael, this is stupid. Okay, because when you say, how do we know that Socrates existed? First of all, we might not, but it's a historical thing that we just kind of accept that maybe he did or maybe didn't. But Socrates is entirely natural. The question is, if we don't know what the explanation is, what is the justification for concluding that the supernatural is possible, that a god is possible? How do you conclude that anything X is in fact possible? You need to demonstrate that. You don't just get to assume that X is a possible explanation just because you haven't thought of another explanation. That is fallacious.
Well, Plato. I thought
all you can really say, Michael,
I'm just going to say goodbye.
All you can say is you have a gap in your knowledge. That's it. You don't understand something. We don't know something. We don't know something.
Or you can say, I just don't know. Yeah, I'm fucking
That's
throw
it.
your hands. Yeah.
I just don't know is sometimes
I'm sorry.
the
Can I
only.
curse on here? I said fucking. I'm sorry. If I can.
It's fine. It's sometimes the only intellectually sound thing to say is we don't know. We can't, we can't go
Yeah,
from
no,
directly from we don't know to therefore a whole load of other magical things are to be considered candidate possible explanations. That's an erroneous move. So it's fallacious. So what we do is we stay epistemically humble, right? We just say we don't know, and that's enough.
Well, I understand. I say that to my wife all the time.
I'm not convinced you do.
I don't fucking know. But it's just hard getting over Catholic guilt, I guess. I don't know.
I recommend recoveringfromreligion.org, and they can set you up with somebody in the Secular Therapist Project to help you deal with religious trauma syndrome and other things. But when it comes to basic epistemology, I've done a lot of videos on this as well, including one that I think is literally called something like Candidate Explanations. And the fact of the matter is, at some point, we didn't know anything. That doesn't mean that everything else was a candidate explanation. If we don't know how lightning works, it doesn't mean that Zeus is a candidate explanation. It doesn't mean magic is a candidate explanation. It doesn't mean that supernatural is a candidate explanation. If something is to be a candidate explanation, it must be demonstrated that that is actually a possible explanation. Everything else is either a fallacious appeal to ignorance or a perverted version of an argument from ignorance, where instead of saying it's true until you prove me false, you're saying I'm going to go ahead and go with it because I couldn't come up with anything better, the personal incredulity one. Something doesn't become a candidate explanation merely because you lack understanding or imagination.
That makes sense. Well, I'm going to get off the phone with you guys, but I just want to decry that freaking racist guy you had on earlier. That guy was a piece of bull.
I got you.
Can I curse on here?
I don't need it. I don't need it. We're going to scrub it. Thanks, Michael.
All right.
I still got him on text. I'm talking to him about his mom and how proud she is.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that was a good suggestion from John, so I'm just going to enjoy that for a while. All right, we have another theist. And by the way, we're going to be going to super chats. There's 2 more calls left. There's a theist and 1 atheist. And once these 2 are done, we'll be going to all your super chats. Over $10 we'll be reading. Here we go. Ray is calling from Florida. Pronouns are he, him. And Ray says, accurate prediction is not debatable. Weird. The prophecies in the Old Testament are undeniable. Hi, Ray. How are you?
Wow, what a country. First time caller, and you guys get to me immediately. I'm honored to talk to you.
Well, we had closed all the lines and there weren't theists remaining. So you weren't going to get through, but I saw you call in and I was like, we'll stay on a little bit longer so we can talk to a theist. So go ahead.
Okay, very generous. I'm super impressed with your clarity of logic. Let's see. So a lot of times when I talk to people and they want to say how bad things are going, or they want to say how good a team is, I say, just, make a prediction. And that way we can know whether you know what you're talking about or not. So that's basically where I'm coming from.
Hang on.
And this is related to Old Testament prophecy of the Messiah. I'm hoping these dots connect for you.
I just made a prediction about you.
Hit me.
No. I'm not going to tell you ahead of time. I have it printed up on the screen where I can pull it up after you prove that I'm right.
I'm sure I'll be impressed. Okay. Want me to keep talking? There's like 60 to 70 direct, explicit messianic prophecies. And the Jewish people are the perfect devil's advocate to reject the implications of the prophecy, but I don't see how they really can.
They do.
Okay, why don't
you
present me with their strongest argument, and let me hear how amusing it is.
No, I'm sorry. You don't understand how any of this works. Okay, so listen up.
Okay.
Why are you laughing?
Well, no,
Why are you laughing?
no, I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing at my own ignorance.
I didn't say
that
you were
don't
laughing
know-
at me. See, you're like
Okay.
incapable of actually listening. I didn't say you were laughing at me. I just asked why you were laughing.
Okay, my own ignorance. I apologize.
Cool. So, are you aware that there are Jews who do not think that Jesus fulfilled any messianic prophecies?
Okay, I'm just asking to hear their
That was a
argument, and then
question.
I'm going to laugh.
Okay, Ray, you are absolutely incapable of actually listening. That was a question.
Yeah, I would have assumed that there are Jews that say that.
No, that's not what I asked either. I didn't ask you to assume anything. I said, are you aware that there are Jews, lots of them, all Jews who aren't Christians, in fact, who do not believe that Jesus fulfilled the messianic prophecies?
I've not investigated that question, so I'm going to plead ignorance.
So all the Jews that are out there who aren't Christians, what would you assume they thought? Now I'm asking you about whether Jesus fulfilled messianic prophecy.
I would assume that they reject it.
Cool. Because if they accepted it, they would be what?
They might convert to Christianity.
No, they would be Christians if they felt that Jesus was the Messiah. Do you think there are Jews who would believe that Jesus wasn't the Messiah and they'd just say, nah, we're not going down there. We're not going to follow our own Messiah?
Okay, you're going down a different train of thought here, but I mean,
No. I'm going down your train of thought. You called in to say that prediction isn't debatable and the prophecies in the Old Testament are undeniable and that there's like 60 messianic prophecies. Now, I have no expertise in the specific prophecies, but I have some friends who are and who will actively engage in a debate with you that Jesus didn't fulfill any messianic prophecies. But you don't get to ask me to present you with what Jews think about Jesus's messianic prophecies. I'm not here to teach you what other people think. You're here to defend your claim. So, do you have a particular prophecy that you think Jesus fulfilled? And then we can discuss whether or not he fulfilled it and why or why he didn't.
Okay, I'll have to just pick from these 60 prophecies. Let's see. I'll just go with one in random. Isaiah 11:5, and righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. That's just one I picked out of random.
What makes that a prophecy, and what makes Jesus fulfill it? Oh, wait a minute.
Are you ready?
Yes, and righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. What makes that a prophecy?
Okay, this is from AI. The verse continues the portrait of...
I don't need that.
Branch.
Okay? Ray.
Okay.
If I want to argue with AI, I don't need to hold my show open for somebody who's completely uninformed in what they're talking about, who doesn't listen, and who wants to argue with me via AI. I can go ask AI myself. AI, by the way, is roughly the equivalent of asking the 4chan comment thing what their opinion is. It's not an addressment of fact. It's an attempt to address what a number of different people say. So I don't care what AI says, and now we don't care what you say. So say goodbye, Ray.
Okay, thanks for talking to me.
You bet. What a shame.
Yeah, it is a shame. And this claim that there were all of these prophecies of Jesus in the Old Testament, if you actually take them one by one, they either turn out to not actually be prophecies at all, so they're just literally sections of text from the Hebrew Bible that the New Testament authors thought if you squint at them just right, they might look a little bit like the thing that's been described in the New Testament. But actually, when you look at them, they're not even prophecies. They don't even have, prophecy takes a very specific form. For something to be a prophecy, it has to say that it's prophesying something. It's a prediction. It's got to be made in the future tense language. It's got to be specific. It's got to tell you certain things are going to happen at a certain time. And a really good test for whether something's a prophecy or not is if you read it before the thing had happened, before you knew about the supposed fulfillment, would you be able to infer from that what it's actually relating to? And so many of these things are not prophecies. They're not statements about what's going to happen in the future. They're just bits of language where the future authors of the New Testament have grabbed little bits of the text and decided that they can match them up and make them, declare them to be prophetic. And the ones that actually are prophecies, that actually do predict specific things, quite often it turns out that they were written around about the time or shortly after the things that they're actually prophesying. And there's even a term for that, right? Vaticinium ex eventu, I think it is, for prophecies that just turn out to have been written afterwards. And so it's actually really not very impressive at all. And then the funny thing is that the Hebrew Bible does actually make specific prophecies about the Messiah, very specific things, conditions that the Messiah must fulfill, like being from the seed of David and serving as a king in Israel. Jesus didn't serve as a king in Israel. Jesus wasn't from the seed of David. So Jesus actually explicitly fails to fulfill the messianic prophecies of the Old Testament. So it's not just that the claims of prophecy don't really work out. It's where it actually does make prophecies, this Jesus dude ain't it. He doesn't fulfill them at all. So it's a fail all around on that, I'm afraid.
There were people who were wondering what my prophecy was. It was not correct. I had written down two things, troll and Isaiah. And it would be very cool of me, if I wanted to claim that I was at least partially correct on the prophecy, because I said Isaiah. And that's the type of thing that some theist would actually do. But I don't think that Ray was so much a troll as a sincere and hopelessly uninformed and clueless defender of the faith. And the Isaiah prediction that I was referencing was not 11:5.
Was it 7:14?
It was 53. I didn't even finish writing it down.
Oh, the righteous, the suffering servant, right? 53.
Yeah. And it's a toss-up. And by the way, I'm not an expert in the prophecy stuff. Get any of the guys who do this stuff all the time. And here's the reason why. Actually, Paul and I are going to be doing a video, hopefully in the next few days, where we talk about why Paul gets into the scholarship of things where I don't. And to pivot off what John said, and then we'll get to this last caller. In order for a prophecy to be viewed as prophetic and having been fulfilled, it needs to be specific, such that it is not subject to interpretation or massaging, answerable by a single identifiable circumstance without interpretation. It needs to be in place in advance, specific enough to be identifiable, and cannot have people actively working to make it happen. That's not a prophecy. If the waiter brings me a medium rare steak, he didn't fulfill fucking prophecy. As a matter of fact, when I order a medium rare steak, I always predict that it will not come out medium rare. And then they are fulfilling prophecy because I've made a prophecy, but it's not particularly impressive. It also needs to be something that's remarkable. You can't make a prophecy of, like, for example, if it's a 50-50 shot, if you're like, I predict that Kamala Harris is going to win the presidential election. Okay, whoop-de-doo. I predicted that Trump was going to win it, and I was right. I'm very pissed that I was right, but I wasn't prophetic. And so something mundane. Now, ideally, here's the hard part for Ray and everybody else, and this is the only reason I felt like adding anything on. Let's imagine that we had 4 very clear predictions about something that was going to happen in the future that was remarkable and answerable by a single set of circumstances, and all 4 of them came true. What can we say? How did the person who made those prophecies know? You can't say that they did know. it's possible, although unlikely, that they just guessed and happened to get 4 right. But you also then say, okay, maybe they didn't know, but they got it from somebody who did know. You don't know. Maybe they had a time machine. How did you determine that a time machine is less likely than that there's a magical, all-powerful, all-knowing being that exists outside of space-time that specifically relayed this particular information to this person? And if they're going to do that, we're back to what I did before, if they're going to do that, this is like the Babel fish, where it becomes so obvious that it is evidence of God that God just kind of poofs himself out of existence type thing. It is, there's a problem with prophecy. And one of the biggest problems is that the people who understand the least about how to tell if A is connected to B with any strong link are the ones that are going to believe it. All right. Final call for today. Oh my God, I can't believe it.
There's another one?
Yeah, there is one. I'm sorry, I said I'd take Ray last, but I took Ray before. Corey's been on hold for almost 2 hours, and I didn't actually see what Corey wanted to talk about. Hi, Corey. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Matt, what's going on? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I don't want to. I'm doing everything in my power to avoid throwing my mouse right now. Go ahead.
Well, no, I think it won't be as bad as probably I tried to explain it to the screener, but if you'll allow
it will
me
be
about
because
10 seconds.
I genuinely fucking despise being asked anything about this piece of shit. But go ahead.
No. Hear me out. I'm a huge fan. I've been wanting to talk to you for years. So I had a really similar upbringing and backstory as yours. I got about 2/3 of the way through getting my doctorate in theology and came across the old shows back in like 2005 or so.
We're
Me and my
past
wife
9 o'clock. I
both
don't need
grew
a
up.
story. I need the question. I know you've been on hold for 2 hours. If this wasn't a topic that I already found irritating, I might let you go on longer, maybe do it another time. But let's just get to the question because I got supers to get to and a dog to go take care of. I'm here alone.
Okay. All right. So my question was, going back to your debate with Andrew a long time ago, it was so obvious that he had, no evidence. You would ask for evidence. You didn't get anything, pretty much what everybody expected. Fast forward to 2 weeks ago in the debate sphere, just this big thing that's going on the internet. He's asking her more or less the same, I would say, good standards for these crazy conspiracy theories. And it's not like really just about them, but just the general, what's your take on why are humans so good at compartmentalizing when it's something we, it's our pet thing, we make all excuses. And when it's something else, like the complete burden or standards of evidence are 180 degrees the other way. That was just the debate.
It's embarrassing to be exposed as wrong. It's embarrassing to be exposed as wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's probably just a fight or flight mechanism.
I don't know if John's got anything to add or not.
I think this is outside of my my sphere of knowledge. Yeah,
well,
I don't really
it was just like watching their debate, if you could even call it that. It was, the claims were so crazy, and it's like to Andrew in the room. I was like, well, that had to be how. That I watch other debates. I'm like, well, that's how Matt feels. Circa some years ago, trying to get you to understand, or watching an old debate with Cy. It's like I bang my head listening to these people, and even the calls tonight, they're so crazy.
And yet you watched the debate between Wilson and Candace, and I didn't, and you couldn't have paid me to. And if people would stop fucking watching it, I'd get to stop fielding questions about it.
Okay.
Why did you pay any attention to two completely delusional individuals debating topics of delusion?
Well, Matt, I've watched probably hundreds of hours of your content. You know, I have a lot of things auto playing while I'm working.
Yep.
I'm kind of a big fan, so I do think you're pretty confrontational sometimes for no reason. Like
now,
this is just an observation. Maybe, I guess. I mean,
okay. So why won't you answer my question? Why would you care to watch a lying, fascist, hateful individual argue about delusion with another lying, delusional, hateful individual?
Why would I care to watch? Well, so now you're asking me like to defend just something I might watch for entertainment because it's dumb and silly, and it was like it's kind of also enlightening as to humans. I just brought my wife out of theism. It took several years, very slowly, because we almost divorced. I became an atheist. She was still deeply embedded in Christianity, and so it was a topic we didn't talk about much. But I'm more like you. I resonated with you a lot of logical. She would watch clips of the show back in the day, and it didn't resonate with her at all. And so when I see other things like that, it's like, well, it's just an insight into how humans process things, and maybe just I don't know why I have to justify why I watched a bit of a podcast or a clip that hundreds of millions of people watched. I'm a pretty big fan, man. So I don't know. I don't know why you're aggressive to me. I just whatever.
Because you sat on hold for 2 hours to tell me you got entertainment out of watching Andrew Wilson.
Have you not gotten entertainment out of watching something stupid before? Or got some insight into human behavior, maybe?
This isn't stupid. This isn't stupid. This is a shit that is destroying the fucking world.
No.
This isn't light entertainment.
Not destroying the world.
This isn't light entertainment.
Silly,
this is fascist, transphobic, lying hate mongers who are spreading misinformation and delusion. What's entertaining about
How is a debate about silliness about the Charlie Kirk thing destroying the world?
You provided an audience along with all of the other people who should have ignored them. And that means that they're going to get asked to do more debates and more videos like this. You are feeding the algorithm that is helping to spread misinformation and put decent discussions and debates off the table and out of business.
Okay, well, I'll make sure to run it by you next time I watch something.
I don't need you to run shit by me, jackass. I asked you why, and you didn't like that I asked you why. I have good reasons why I don't watch that and why I'm irritated at people who do. And then they spend 2 hours on the fucking phone waiting to ask me a question that isn't even relevant to that. You don't got to run shit by me. But if you're out there watching this for entertainment, you and I are not alike. And when you suggest you're more like me, that's fucking embarrassing. Oh, I'm just watching this for light entertainment. I like watching Nazis argue with dipshits for light entertainment. Meanwhile, you are part of the audience. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. That doesn't mean you made a bad decision. It just means that you and I are not the same. And I didn't need to be asked about it. You're helping boost the attention of the worst people. That is actively helping to destroy the world. These people who are spreading QAnon lies and election lies and God lies and trans lies and every lie. And if you would stop tuning in, I know it wouldn't change a thing. Unless all the rest of them stop tuning in too. It's embarrassing that we, and I mean me, John, all the people who are doing this, don't get to have very many good, sincere conversations with people who believe and are eager to learn or teach and have information that they can teach or learn, that we can stand up and talk about what's right, what's good, what's beneficial to the world, that Jubilee has turned debate into a WWE cartoon event where one person's who it's really funny because in some cases I have one person who really knows what they're talking about surrounded by 20 people who don't have much of a clue, so that it looks like, oh, I'm the gladiator who dog stomped everybody. And then they'll put like somebody like Tim Pool in who gets embarrassed right away and runs away and comes back. And the subjects are important. They influence how people vote, how they consider and value other people, what they believe, who they consider as part of their team. The only reason that I would watch Andrew Wilson and a Klan person get into a debate, actually they wouldn't get into a debate because they're both racist pieces of shit. But if you put them in a ring and let me watch it for free, I probably still wouldn't, because I'm not a big fan of violence. But I'm rapidly finding myself getting a little more. I watched Spider-Man punch a Nazi in the face. And while I'm opposed to punching people for speech, I instantly gave a pass to that one. That's what the world has created. That's what the people who know nothing, who don't bother. There's a channel out there that is currently taking all of my old content, all of my old debates, putting in an AI clip, an AI prompt, and they will post a clip where an AI voice reads a little introduction of what Matt Dillahunty does in this and then plays the clip. They are a little bit shy of having enough viewers to be monetized. And I get it in my feed every fucking day. And I go over and ask them to stop and tell them to stop. I did that fucking work. You shouldn't get paid for it. But nobody's going to appreciate that. It's sport. This ain't sport to me. I don't look at debates as win-lose. This is a chance. This is a mission. I didn't monetize my channel until I had almost 200,000 subscribers. I took my life savings and put it into this stuff because it's important. Whether or not there's a God's important. Whether or not people believe in a God is even more important than if there's a God, because that impacts how they treat people and how they vote. I can appreciate the fact that you might want to watch a train wreck. One of my friends is Simon Dan. He does great stuff. He debunks flat earthers all the time. And one might say, why? Why do you watch Simon Dan? It's flat earth stuff. I watch it because Dan's a good guy. And he's educating people. There's something productive to come out. It's not just mocking, here's a dipshit. It's preventing those people from reaching an audience unchallenged. And when you talk about Andrew Wilson and Candace Owens, you're not preventing anybody from reaching an audience unchallenged. You're allowing and encouraging both of them to reach a wider audience and for more of that to happen. So I'm sorry if the guy that you think you're just like doesn't think that was a very smart thing to do, doesn't understand the value of it. But you don't have to run it by me. Just don't fucking call me and ask me what I think about it and then get pissed when I tell you I don't like it. Anyway.
Can I just contribute something there? One way to think about it is that every person who participates in the audience for disgusting people like Andrew Wilson is essentially contributing social proof to him and his content. And that is a collective effect. So every single person, it's like, as Matt said, one person not tuning in wouldn't make a difference. But if everyone did that, it would make a difference. So there is a kind of validation and social proof effect of becoming the audience for spectacles like that. And these people are ghouls. They're not serious. They don't have anything to offer in the idea space. They are just peddling hate, really. I won't watch him. I can't. Someone suggested something about try to get a debate or something like. I wouldn't want to. I don't look for that kind of engagement because there's no good that could come from it, and I wouldn't want to be involved in anything that lifted that person's view up in any way at all. So I think that's the perspective maybe to take away from the conversation, if you can.
Although I would say, if somebody like John or Justin were actually to debate Andrew, I wouldn't have the same objections, because now you have someone in direct opposition to the misinformation, and that's the challenge that we need to have. But this is like taking the two village idiots and chaining them together and throwing them out in the yard for fun. I don't see that as entertainment. But all right, we got a bunch of super chats to get to. Enough of my bitching and moaning about stuff. Sorry, not sorry. All right. I can see the super chats now. Looking at it, just put them up. I got it queued to tens. So, boom, there we go. Buzz Life, $20. John for nope. That's a good way to start.
Excellent. Am I supposed to be seeing these? Because I can't yet.
In the Zoom thing?
Yeah, I can't see them there for some
They're
strange
coming
reason.
up in the Zoom shared window.
Yeah. Are they getting in the?
So
No,
at
I
the
can't see
top
that.
of the Zoom window, there's
Yeah.
my thing, your thing, and a shared thing.
Yeah,
The
strangely.
one with both
I
of
don't-
us has the supers.
Yeah, I think I saw that. Hang on a second. Let's try that. I pin that. Oh, there we go. Okay, I got it.
Cool.
I got it now. So from Josh, Dolly was better than Mother Teresa. That's definitely true.
Sure. Mother Teresa was, I mean, if you read Christopher Hitchens' book, the Missionary Position. Yeah, she was, one of the things is, I don't think these people are like knowingly, intentionally evil. They're just unaware. Like, she was ghoulish about suffering and pain being essential. And it's because her own mind had been poisoned that way. But what she did and what she advocated was awful.
Horrific.
Dante Verona, hey, how you doing? I was just getting ready to ask, am I going to see you this weekend? Yes, I am. On Holy Trinity with Matt, Seth, and Aaron. Me have ticket, will travel. Awesome. It'll be great to see you. And thanks so much for coming and hanging out.
And Buzz, my good friend, John for Nope. This is my contribution for the night. Thank you, Buzz. Buzz is a wonderful, wonderful friend of the channel.
That's incredibly kind. By the way, one of these days I need to get Sean on here.
Yeah,
as well.
I was speaking to him about that earlier, and I told him that this is a thing that's going to happen.
I'd love to do it. He's great. I wish he would talk more. I wish he would talk more. I wish I would talk less, but I can't, because that's just me. Sorry. Sarah the Vet. OMG, the two people that have helped me deconstruct more than anybody else. Wow, that's amazing, because like, I hear that with me and somebody. This is probably the first time where it's me and John who were the two for one person that I know of, but I'm honored. Thank you very much. More than anybody else doing a stream together. I've learned so much from you too. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, Sarah. That's very kind.
It's awesome. Bethos, great to see you. For me, Zen Matt works well. I'm on today to see both hosts as a god-defeating tag team. Can't be online for the entire show. Work tomorrow, actually today. Well, thanks for being here, Bethos. Always a joy to have you around.
Well, catch up with it later, but thank you for the kind words. Michael Dew, 7904, $10 from Vincent King, 2552. I wish I had the cash to super chat Matt and ask his Pokemon Champions team. From me, Dolly Parton's one of the greatest Christians I've ever heard of. Love to Tim Curry too. So I'm going to do this really quickly. I am a longtime Magic the Gathering player, and actually, there's a deck. I haven't opened in ages. I'm not even sure which one's in here. This might be. So I see a foil worm coil engine and Thrun the Last Troll. So that's probably the last deck that I built up. I know I've got some Snapcaster Majors and Dellers. I never played Pokemon. Yu-Gi-Oh was the little kids game. Pokemon was the younger kids, or the medium kids game, and the Magic was the real game. But Arden plays. And this new game, Pokemon Champions, has removed the barrier to entry because you don't have to collect a bunch of cards. And even in the games that we played before, like I played Legends Arceus with her, and I didn't really focus on learning it because it was really kind of easy and straightforward. Pokemon Champions lets you build teams. Like I can build almost any team I want. It's not, you still have to kind of gather the Pokemon. There's a big advantage if you have another Pokemon game and can use Pokemon Home to get them in. So I'm still missing some. But right now I'm just learning. I still don't know intuitively off the top of my head which types work, but I am using a couple of the kind of higher teams in the meta right now. Wow, and that is loud as fuck. So I will pull up the team that I was playing with just before the show started, and I'll have to go back and play some more later. But in the box, it's a little slow to load. I'm basically using the Aerazard OG team, so it's Aerodactyl, Garchomp, Farigiraf, Mega Charizard Y, Kingambit, and Sylveon. That's the team that I've been kind of going through, but I also sub in a couple others. And you will know more about everything. If you were asking me about Pokemon, Michael, or Vincent, actually, in this case, Vincent, you will know more about everything I just said than I do at all. I am literally playing a team somebody else built that I don't know just to learn it. So always more of a Magic Gathering player, but I don't have time for the cards anymore.
And Buzz said, John's willingness to sit quietly and await his turn sets him apart from everyone else in this space and makes him so valuable to listeners. That's very kind. Whether theists or atheists, thank you so much, John. Thank you, Buzz. That's very kind.
Facts. If God is omnipotent, hey, Buzz, then he gives the best possible BJs, right? You would think so.
And Bethos, need to start from March, though, to make Latin month counting consistent. To make October 8, maybe you need to start from March. March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. I think that might be right.
Yes, March. Yeah.
There you go.
I think there was another reason why it was off by one. But also, if God is all-knowing, then he knows what it's like to really enjoy and desire having sex with me.
Yep.
I guess every time I say fuck God, he's enjoying it. Oh, did I skip one? Yeah, okay, no. Legally Mod, $10. I personally think we should have a new calendar using the Trinity test as the 0 point. It's the first event in human history that will be geologically detectable for millions of years. What?
Trinity test. I don't know what the Trinity test is.
I thought I did, but I guess I don't. Let me see. The Trinity test in 1945, the first nuclear explosion.
The Trinity. That, okay. I was thinking other Trinity. Right.
You can't come into a show where guys are talking about the Trinity religion and then make a reference to the
But that's actually really smart because it will be geologically detectable for millions of years. So yeah, good for you.
Yep. That is way smarter than either of us today. Buzz Life again,
way
$10. Thank you so much. At the end of my life, if I have a chance, I'll tell anyone anything. I'll tell Muslims I found Allah. I'll tell Christians I found Jesus. My comfort on my way out will still be dedicated to others.
Good for you, Buzz.
Facts. Plus, when you're old, you can lie and nobody will care.
No one will. And CapTep, thank you so much for this. A fantastic super chat. Any advice how to deal with my, I guess, grandpa who refuses to stop talking religion despite objections to the topic? Grandmother died 1.5 years ago. Was her dying wish my siblings and I come back to the lard, as I like to say, back to the lard. Appreciate you guys and all you do. Matt equals GOAT.
Here's the thing. I don't want to be a hypocrite, so leave Grandpa alone. When my grandma was like 91, I told parts of the story before, so I'll kind of rush through it. We were playing cards, just me and her, and she was lamenting getting old and how getting old is hell. And I'm like, I already know. I have my own issues with aging, so I can just imagine how I'm going to be at 91. And we were sitting there playing cards, and she's like, oh, nobody should have to live this long. And I'll remember everything about this conversation, everything, the look on her face. I almost remember the cards that were in her hand. And she was like, nobody should have to live this long. It's just awful. And I said to her, I was like, yeah, I can appreciate that, but I think if I got to live this long and get to sit around and play cards with my grandkids, it'd probably be worth it. And she was like, you're absolutely right. And she said that in part because I was there, but also because I'm not going to have grandkids. I don't have any kids. I mean, I suppose Arden and I could adopt and I could wind up with grandkids, but that would be awesome. But my grandma believed in God and knew that I was an atheist, and we loved each other dearly. And we had exactly one letter that she wrote me about it, one conversation in person, and she told me things that she wouldn't tell anybody else in the family, like how much she hated Trump. And she did that to side with me. There's no reason for me. Now, I get it. If they're constantly talking about religion, that can get really annoying. But you have to understand that they're doing this either because they're terrified, or because they are confused and love you, or because they're right and you should listen. And stopping the first two isn't really a goal. Like, I might take a break, but if my grandma wanted to talk to me about God till she was blue in the face, it's not the best way to spend her final years, but it's preferable to not getting to spend her final years with her, for me. And that's a decision everybody's got to make for themselves.
Yeah, we have to pick our moments.
Yeah, you don't need to argue God at Christmas or on somebody's deathbed. Or now, if Grandpa's younger and just being a dick, okay, call him out. Like if Grandpa's my age, because technically I could be a grandpa. I could easily be a grandpa already. How the fuck did that happen?
Yeah, that one sneaks up on you.
Call me out.
I think this one's yours, Matt.
Oh, John's professional quiet. He's the fucking man. John for Nope. Hey, Buzz Life. Man, that's incredibly generous. And there's another one coming. We really appreciate being here. I know you're a fan of John's, and I don't have John on to get his fans to come in and support the channel. I have John on because I adore what John does, and he's great. So it's great that we get the extras too.
Thank you, Buzz. And Buzz says the worst part about being mentally ill is that you can never tell when you're mentally ill. It's like stinking. Everyone around you knows, but you don't. It's actually fucking sad. And I'm trying to remember which call this was. This came in off the back of one of the Grey moments. So yeah, I hear you, Buzz.
I will only nitpick a slight bit because I really like what you said here. I will say that you can, in fact, know that you are mentally ill in some regards sometimes. And you can definitely know that you stink sometimes. Because like when I'm done with Rat Day, I stink. And I can tell. But yes, great stuff. John, tell Matt about the updog situation from last night.
Oh my
Thanks
God.
so much for the giblets and giblets. $20. That's nice.
Yeah, it was actually last night. It was actually on my stream, and Buzz got me with a sent a super chat which had something about updog to make me say, "What is updog? What's updog?" And I just fell right into it. Yep, I got completely nailed. Of course, happens. When your audience is smarter than you, it happens regularly.
Oh God, yeah. I get trolled. I don't mind. It's like the person that called in the Spider-Man, then immediately did their joking. If they hadn't got to the I'm joking quickly enough, it could have been bad. But if once I know you, fuck with me all you want. Like
I had exactly the same instinct as you, by the way. Once he started getting into Peter Parker, I thought you were reaching for the drop button, and I would have been doing the same. Just like it felt so wrong in that moment because we just hadn't set up, as you say, we hadn't set up the context for it yet. I had exactly the same instinct. Yeah.
Also, the racist has stopped sending me messages.
I love that you've got a special phone for that.
There's a texting and calling app that you can do where you just pick out a phone number and it keeps it anonymous. And that's the thing is, I would imagine a good chunk of the people who are calling the show are going to use something like that. So I only use the number for that. We don't hunt anybody down. We don't look for anybody. We're not trying to dock anybody or find anything out. But when there's somebody who's like that much of an open racist, and here's the thing, part of me thinks that person is not actually remotely an open racist Nazi. It's very much, I think, for some of them, I'm going to do this for the shock value and the attention. Not that they actually fucking despise Jewish people. They might, and maybe that's my privilege showing, but it doesn't matter to me because they're still fostering that as a disgusting part of our culture, kind of like watching an Andrew Wilson debate. Jeffrey, or not Jeffrey, let me back up. Godfrey Inca, $20. We send ourselves to hell the same way a disobedient child spanks their own butts.
That's
exactly.
Great. Yeah, that's great.
And the thing is, sorry, I'm not crying. I legitimately had something in my eye. The thing is, I didn't hear that when I was a kid, but you know what I did hear? This hurts me more than it does you.
Oh.
The fuck it did.
Yeah.
You got a fucking razor strap out in the garage. The fuck it did hurt you more than it does me. I will never hit a kid. And I didn't even get beat that much. And I don't think it really, I know it didn't fuck me up too much because I'm not using it as an excuse. I hear from parents all the time, like, I was spanked and it didn't hurt me at all. That's why I'm going to spank my kid. And I'm like, no. If you're spanking your kid, it did hurt you. It taught you the wrong fucking lesson.
Clearly. John Darwin, that's a very generous super chat. Thank you for that. Just because.
That's incredibly kind. And we appreciate it greatly. The Atheist Mechanic tuned in a bit late, but always happy to see the show. Always grateful for you, Matt. You helped me with my deconstruction with the Unholy Trinity. Glad to see your content, John, and interact. There's no H in John's name, but I appreciate it either way. Hi, honey. I'm still alive. We're doing the final super chat right this second. Here we go.
Here we go.
Just stay right on. Final super chat for today. Billy Sipes, $50. I stink sometimes and I know it, but it's from the medicine. I like people telling me, and I would hope people told me, yeah, I like it. I would rather not be offending everybody with my body odors or anything else on me. So if I'm ever around and I'm stinky, especially if I have bad breath, like I ran into some folks at NanoCon who had really bad, like I hate coffee breath. And so I don't tell people when they have coffee breath because I assume they just know it and are dealing with it. But if you don't want to stand there and talk to me because my breath is about to knock you over, fucking tell me. I'll go find a mint or mouthwash or something. All right. On that note, I have a wife who's sitting here waiting for me to get done with the show. I have a dog that has been stuck outside for almost 4 hours and needs to go be got. So thank you a ton, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks to everybody, including the racist Nazi piece of shit who called in and gave me some amusement to have somebody to text. John, thanks a ton for filling in since Joe Bond couldn't. I look forward to getting you back again really soon. And there should be a link in chat. John's book's going to be out in November.
Yeah. Thank you.
Look for that and go give him a follow, give him a like. Thanks to Luvian for producing everything, Khaleesi and everybody else for moderating. Y'all take care. And I know that it feels like the world's ending because we've lost our anchor being in Dolly, but we can work to to come up with a pale replacement and still be better off. Anyway, take care. Patreon.com/call the line, linemerch.com, all that stuff. I don't even know if there's going to be outro music or anything. Bye.